What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 203. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and today we're going to be talking about a range of things, including the new PlayStation Plus details that we got this week. We got Saints Row gameplay. We've got EA possibly merging with other big companies coming into the gaming space, and a bunch of other updates to talk through. I am joined by the usual crew here. Below me, the man, the myth, the legend, Ty Guy Travis. What's happening?
McClunky. Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Energized this week. Energized.
Ready to go.
All
right. I like it. To his right, you know him well, the host of Virtual Legality and the man who streams 37 hours a day, Mr. Rick Hogue. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ains. I was actually going to correct you because I thought you were saying what I streamed per week, and it's more than 37 right now. I can't quite squeeze in extra temporal time in a 24-hour period, but believe me, it sounds like a good idea as it stands right now.
I was going to say, if you could, you certainly would have.
I would. 2 seconds. You give me an extra 13 hours, I would take it.
And of course, the man, the myth, the seven, not the legend, but he's kind of a legend in our own mind, Mr. Rodriguez. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, that'd be it. I mean, in nobody else's mind am I anywhere near legendary. But good morning, everybody.
We'll support you in the legend status.
That's fine. That's good because it was a rough night. You know, man, I don't know what's going on. Getting older, man, sucks. You gotta get up 15 times in the bathroom. You go to the bathroom. It's just like, God damn, I gotta stop drinking all this Monster. Drink some more water.
That could be part of the problem. Maybe put the Monster down.
Yeah, he's sliding down the razor blade of life. You know,
that's all right. I'm pretty happy with what I've accomplished, which isn't very much. But you know what? I'm all good.
Fair enough. Good morning, chat. Good to see you guys. All right. So, like I said, got a few things to discuss today. But first, one of the things I want to touch on is just a couple comments from last week's video. You know, we noted that we really appreciate the feedback, the commentary. So I had forgotten until I read this comment that we had a Papa Hogue sighting last week. And Mr. Game Positive, Eric, said this episode was so good. I don't think I've ever laughed out loud as hard as watching Bitcast, and I did when Papa Hogue showed up. You all rule. So we did get a couple of Papa Hogue comments from last week.
Yes, my dad likes to pop in on these streams now. He has, in some ways, discovered live streaming content-based YouTube, and so he likes to visit me.
Yeah,
he now knows about YouTube.
A whole wealth of doors just opened to him. Yeah,
you would not be
a really bad door. Usually, I mean, it's my limited experience.
Every morning now, like really early, 7 a.m, I get a message from my dad. Love my dad. Who says something along the lines of, "You streaming today? I need to know if you're streaming today."
You're streaming a game? Poggers. Okay. Let's hop on that.
I'm not
in the chat. Your dad.
I'm on the Bitcast today, Dad. Not doing anything trial related.
Papa Hogue is a troll. It is a
yeah. He's like super like internet knowledgeable, typing in leet and stuff.
Could happen.
Oh boy, let's not send him down that path, please.
Hey, is he listening today?
In all likelihood. Hey, Dad.
That's good. Hi, Papa Hogue.
Just in case.
Can I start the show by asking a random lawyer question?
Sure, shoot.
So you know in the movies, this is really going off the rails early.
I love it.
You know in the movies when like the lawyer goes like, "Hey, permission to treat the witness as hostile," and then the judge is like, "Permission granted," and then he just starts like what is that in law? Like, are you just allowed to just beat the crap out of that person on the stand? Like, you know, and the movie I'm thinking of is like The Dark Knight. He's like, you know, Harvey Dent's like, "Permission to treat the witness as hostile," and the judge is like, "Dude, granted." And then the dude pulls a gun on him, and I'm like, did the judge know he had a gun? Is that why he was like, "Dude, permission granted, good move"? Like, this dude's got a gun. I can see it from this high chair. I'm really interested in that legal. Like,
I love that.
You can just get permission from the judge to just like go to town on the witness. I'm very interested in that.
Yes, I'll try to do this as short as possible. So when you call a witness up for your case, you're not allowed to lead them. You're not allowed to lead them down what you want your answer to be. You have to ask open-ended questions, right? The reverse of that is on cross-examination. When somebody else calls a witness and you go and you want to cross-examine them, you can lead them. You can ask leading questions. Isn't it true that you're an ass face? Sorry, thoroughly, I know. Yes, you can ask them leading questions. So if it's your witness and you prepped them or whatever, and a story pops out, it's like, "Oh, well, that's not on our side at all. You're helping the other side." you can go to the court and you can say, okay, we need to treat this as an adverse witness. Adverse is more common than hostile. Movies like to make it a little bit more combative.
Okay, gotcha.
But it means that I'd like to treat this as if I were cross-examining. And these people, this person in front of me, I thought was on my side, is clearly not. And I'd like to treat it as if they are not on my side so that I can ask leading questions. That's treating a witness as hostile.
Got it. Okay. So
Very rarely does anybody pull a gun.
Yeah. It's an over-exaggeration to be treating them as hostile. You're basically
and very rare.
Yeah.
But like one thing that we saw this weekend, just to talk about Depp v. Heard a little bit, is we saw that Heard's team is planning to call Johnny Depp. There ain't no more hostile witness than the opposing party. So they're going to call them as hostile, and they're going to be able to ask them leading questions. The weird part about that is that Depp's team is going to be able to cross-examine that hostile witness. So for the first time, Depp's own team is going to be able to ask Johnny Depp leading questions. So it's a gambit. They're trying to throw a Hail Mary, and we'll see how it goes. Tune in tomorrow.
Wow, that is actually interesting. It's completely not gaming related, but it's interesting.
But hey, I mean, if you've ever played a Phoenix Wright game, maybe this will be.
Oh my God! Okay, we need an important disclaimer here. I adore the Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright series. There are just so many non-U.S. American legal concepts in there that there's so many leading questions. There's so much that is not the legal system. It is a fun puzzle game, though. Just to be clear,
it's not the legal system in the United States, but
it's not in Japan either. But I mean, it's Ace Attorney land.
For sure.
You just reminded me I do need to break that out again, Travis, on the Switch. I've got to give it another go. I've got to. So
Ace Attorney's the best. I'll probably
so he started in a weird spot, which is that he started with the great Ace Attorney.
That is a weird spot.
The new release. Yeah.
I feel like if I were given Ains a recommendation, I'd be like, start with Dual Destinies.
But you said like
Dual Destinies isn't available to him.
Was on DS, and I was like, I don't have a DS, so.
Yeah,
you can't get Dual Destiny. You can't get Apollo. You have to go. You have to go get the trilogy and just start from the beginning, I think.
I don't think that's a good way to go. People don't attach you play the new ones, and then if you love them, you go back and you play the old ones. The old ones are just a little hard to get through if you're not already in love with the series, or you didn't play it when it came out. That's been my experience.
I mean, my youngest daughter can get attached to it, and so I mean, I like to believe adults can. So
Right.
All right. We had another comment from last week, because last week we talked about Gotham Knights. Getting back to games, we talked about Gotham Knights, and I think some of us agreed that it didn't look too great, which I reiterated on a show yesterday. Mike Scarborough first said really enjoys the show. I think he's a new listener, so great to have a lot of comments from new listeners, which is fantastic. He said, so in light of the Starfield delay, would any of you say that Arkham Knights should be delayed?
Gotham Knights?
Gotham Knights. Yeah, he said Arkham Knights. Gotham Knights is what he meant. Yeah. So
that'd be a heck of a delay if it were Arkham Knight.
I don't know. I think I said last week, based on what we saw from that 15-minute gameplay trailer or whatever, it doesn't look good to me. So if that was either an old kind of vertical slice or an old cut of it, and it's going to be heavily improved by the time it releases, then it'll probably be fine. If the gameplay and combat looks like that on release, then I would say delay it, please. That's my opinion.
I mean, you guys know how I feel about delays. I do it always.
It just depends on whether you think your resources can materially improve your product or not. Like at some point, you fish or you cut bait. So I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes, so I don't know whether delay makes sense. Hey, Ains, can you? I just like this one. Can you pull up this Christy Fletcher chat?
The Johnny again with 8 hours left.
I just think with the video game reference is hilarious here. So just to give the context, we found out the times that each side has left in their case, and the Heard side only has 8 hours for the entire last week, which is just insane. And I like this reference for explaining it. Calling Johnny, who speaks slowly, when you only have 8 hours left in your case, is like starting a Dwemer ruin in Skyrim with 10 minutes before you have to leave your house. Is perfect, Christy Fletcher. Nailed it.
That's great.
That's a great reference.
We've got a couple super chats we'll get to too. So
okay, yeah, no, I like to pull those ones.
Oh, of course,
and I don't have the buttons in front of me, so I like to make Ains do it.
No, it's fine. Well, I have to bring down our Bitcast kind of frame when I do this. Anyway.
I apologize for that. I won't ask for that too much.
No. It's good timing with the super chats, so we'll just get to them while we're here. Tal's in the house.
Man, Starting off with the big $10 super chat. Thank you, Tao. Sup, Bitcasters. Why can't I see Papa Hogue trolling Hogue? My niece trolls me and my two brothers anytime we co-op game. She's constantly throwing food in Overcooked 2. For sure, boys. Hit that like button. Yeah,
my dad would never ever do that, but right now he's looking up what trolling means on a live stream and exactly what it would look like.
I'm surprised that's not a legal term, trolling. I feel like it's applicable.
Bring it up in the courthouse.
Yeah, he'll look it up. He'll see. He'll be like, no.
By the way, if you ever are kind of not hostile, not the word I'm looking for, but if you ever have siblings that you can get hostile with and play Overcooked together, that is an interesting experience because that game will drive you bonkers playing that co-op, especially local.
The entire Hogue family playing Overcooked usually needs a rest period afterwards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's the way to lose friendships. Actually, I would say trolling is the internet version of treating the witnesses hostile, I would say.
Tal, thank you very much.
Around.
Bad Boy Horror in the house.
Yeah, man. How is Hogue Law still awake after this week? I'm now following a bunch of lawyers.
One, I'm glad I introduced you to LawTube. Two is we're in full-on sleep in June mode. So we're going to go through it. We're happy to be here in the Bitcast talking about video games, talking about law later on. But I appreciate it, Fat Boy Horror. We're going to make it through. I'm going to be delirious by the time Friday rolls around.
Yeah, thank you, Fat Boy, as always. And we did get one question on answer real quick. Way of the Lao, good morning. He says, want to ask if everyone games has the ability to maintain 60 FPS matters to you. And do you have a monitor or TV that has HDMI 2.1 and VRR? So you guys can obviously answer too. Yes, 60 FPS definitely matters to me. In fact, I have been playing mostly Halo, as everyone in the world knows. I play that at 120. And now with Halo's gameplay being so good and playing in 120 being so fluid, even going back to 60 is starting to feel weird to me. I played Apex Legends for the first time this weekend in a long time, over a year at least. That game feels clunky to me. And Apex Legends is known as one of the premier kind of gameplay shooters. It feels weird to me now playing that. So I would say 60 FPS absolutely matters. Going back to 30, like I played the Bloodborne recently, which is known for frame rate issues. It is rough, very rough to try and play that game now, at least for me.
Bloodborne has never not been rough. I mean, I hate to tell
Bloodborne fans. It's true. The frame pacing was always bad.
Awesome design, very cool game. It has always felt rough.
True. And yes, I do play I do play in VRR, HDMI 2.1, 120 frames, 4K, all that. My setup has all that. So yes. And yes, it makes a noticeable difference.
I want to focus on the word maintain there because maintain is so important to me. Even VRR can bandage up like some amount of variability. If you're hauling all over the frame rates, it cannot save it for you. So I want to make sure that whatever you're hitting. Like that's what bothers me the most. I run VRR, but you could still have issues if they're major frame swings.
True. I know Dan loves 30 FPS, especially if being consistent.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I tweeted out. I put in. Not put in because I don't have an actual disk drive on the PS5, but I
like the statement.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2. Just because I was like, I'll see what it looks like on these new consoles. Started playing it. It's actually it maintains a pretty steady 30, but it looks so good that it's hard to notice, right? Like so, because I'll jump from Horizon over to that. I'll be like, really, it's not that bad. Any other game, like if you're playing, say, like Valhalla, there's a huge difference, a big noticeable difference, I think, between 30 and 60, and trying to maintain that. It makes a solid 30, but it still looks so much different. You know, when it's the same game, I think it makes a bigger difference when you're jumping between game and game. I won't play anything that's not 60 now. I won't play anything at 120 either. One, because my monitor won't do it, or my TV, even though I've been going to buy a TV for like the longest time. I just refuse to do it because if I get to, I'm afraid I'll get to what Ains is at, where it's like, oh gosh, that 120 looks so nice. and then I got to go back to 60, right? You know, because most games don't support that frame rate, and if they do, they're usually multiplayer games.
That's what I was going to say. I think the style of game obviously matters here, right? Red Dead is a slower paced, third person methodical game, which is very, for lack of a better phrase, I know this is used all the time, but it's cinematic. Whereas Halo, right, like it's so fast and every movement you make is so critical that, you know, once you get used to the higher frame rate, it's hard to go back.
100%. Yeah. I'm going to stick to what I have for now. I'm pretty content. As long as everything that comes out, I can play it at 60. I'm good. I'm happy.
Fair enough. All right. All right. So why don't we get to what we're currently playing, boys? Travis, I'm going to start with you because I know your Evil Dead review, final review, is out this week. I know that you've played some matches with Hogue. We played some matches together, having a really good time with it. So why don't you share kind of your final thoughts on where Evil Dead landed for you?
Yeah. Well, obviously you can check out the review. Those are most of my final thoughts are there, but it is better than I thought it was going to be for sure. It's sort of like the Evil Dead movies in that you know, better than it has any right to be, just based on its budget and its clunkiness and the studios that made it and that sort of stuff. And you kind of you expect a certain, I guess, level of rough around the edges, and you certainly get that, but still, all in all, with just like the amount of fun you can have with that game, and at its current state, it launched in a really good state. The servers work. The game is supremely balanced. I'm finding like you really get into super competitive matches if both teams know what they're doing and are around the same power level. And yeah, it's just a very solid game. So if you like asymmetric multiplayer games like Dead by Daylight, you should definitely play it. If you aren't into those games, you know, consider it, at least give it a try. I'm not a big Dead by Daylight guy just because running and hiding for like 20 minutes bothers me. But this game sort of turns that on its head and makes the survivors have a fighting chance, you know. And so yeah, it's a lot of fun. I got to play it with two of the people here on this panel. So yeah, I've put probably like 30 hours, maybe 35 hours into it at this point. And I've actually been playing it after my review a little bit, mostly because I'm working on other content. I'm making like a top 13 tips for, you know, playing Evil Dead and that sort of stuff for the site. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So it's a great game.
Excellent.
Yeah. I liked it way more than I thought I would. I really like your opening metaphor, which reminded you of the movies, because the movies always out hit their budget level.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and this game's for sure in the same alley. It's actually kind of uncanny, like how similar it is. So
yeah, I had a really good time with it. I had played the missions, like I said, in some of those, and then getting to play matchmaking with you and your girlfriend was awesome. So yeah, it's good times. Good time. Really enjoyed it. I need to find
Thai
more.
Girl Travis, as she's known.
I know.
Yes, I love that name. And yeah, no, I highly recommend it if you can get it, folks. Travis talking smack in your ear while he murders you all is quite the experience.
Yeah, I logged in with Mr. Thai Guy Travis, and then I see pop in Thai Girl Travis, and I'm like, oh my god, you guys are killing me.
The only problem I have with that in game is like the easy identification. Like you're not really reading avatar names; you're just like seeing the things, and like TGT. You guys are just swapping in between.
We did it specifically to be annoying. That's my favorite part.
Mission accomplished, and it surprises me not at all.
For sure, not at all. Yeah.
What was the? Did you say the final score you gave it? By the way.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10, which at IGN means great. It's a great game.
Yeah,
nice.
And it's. I think it's surprised a lot of people. Like it's gotten better scores than a lot of people anticipated. So yeah,
I mean, a lot of stuff about it annoyed me, which I'm easy to annoy with video games. I have a pretty high standard, and I almost went with a 7, but at the end of the day, I had so much fun with that game, even with all of its clunkiness, and I think that's all that matters really. So
yeah,
it was an 8 for me, which is a very high score for me.
Yeah, I would have pegged you at a 7. So that's cool. Yeah. I like it a lot too.
Yeah, good. Game.
Well, I don't have a lot to add on the Evil Dead front. Played that a bit. Halo, of course, nonstop, and then I made the big mistake, boys. Yesterday, I turned on Elden Ring again.
I saw.
Oh no!
And
you said that like it's you fell off the wagon.
Yeah.
Chip.
I made that mistake. So now, and I played it again a little this morning. So now I'm debating kind of wrapping up all the tail end stuff I want to do of my main playthrough, and then starting New Game Plus. Because
would that be 3?
Well, I've done 2 separate playthroughs,
Okay.
and then I have 2 partial playthroughs. So this would technically be kind of starting a 5th. But yeah, I've got a lot of time in the game. But it's just I started playing it again yesterday and this morning, and I'm just like, oh man, it's gonna pull me back in. But that's okay. It's fine. So, but we've talked enough about Elden Ring over the past few months. So
Yeah, as your sponsor, I think we'll talk a little bit after this.
Elden Ring Anonymous. That sounds like a skit you could run at the Game Awards.
But give me something. What else you guys been playing? That we haven't talked as much about. Give me something.
I don't know how much we've talked about it, but really the only thing I've had time to play is we've done like a half hour or an hour long session in Rogue Legacy 2 after I get done streaming at night. That game is awesome.
Yes.
So I'm really loving it. My youngest is really loving it. It's honestly very, very difficult for anybody to play. But she loves building her castle and figuring out exactly how, honestly, a rogue game works in terms of, I need the money, so focus on the money, and then that'll make it better the next time. They have such fun hereditary traits, a lot of things mixing together with the artifacts. It's Rogue Legacy, except like significantly improved. So it's a fantastic game.
Yeah, it's one of the highest games I've reviewed in a while. I said if Elden Ring hadn't released this year, Rogue Legacy 2 would be my current game of the year. It's that good. It's amazing. So definitely, if you enjoy, even if you don't, I mean, it is obviously a roguelite. It's in the name, but it's also
it was the first roguelite, by the way.
And still one of the best, in my opinion, even the first one. The second one, to Rick's point, definitely improves on it in nearly every way. It keeps kind of the essence of the first and the gameplay and the humor and everything, but it just has so much more to it. It's just an incredible game. Please check it out.
We love throwing pizzas. My daughter cannot get over throwing pizzas. So if there's a pizza guy available, done.
Have you gotten the one yet where it turns the entire game upside down? You have to play upside down.
I haven't got upside down. I think what was the one that I liked the most? It was Diva, the spotlights. I love the spotlight.
I like that one too. Yeah, it's good.
You can be a clown. I mean, there's all kinds of hilarious stuff. It's just a great game.
I'm at the final boss. I'm about to beat it. I'll probably beat it today.
Nice. And it's got like a very extensive New Game Plus. There's like a lot to that game.
That's what I've been seeing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we love that. We've really been enjoying that. I think I mentioned Eden Chronicles Rising last week. I'm playing, and I don't know if I've mentioned it in this space, but one of the games that is going to go on my top 10 list of the year that I have absolutely adored is Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Edition. I don't know if I've referenced it here or otherwise. If you enjoyed Stanley Parable at all, if you've never heard of it, then just buy it and don't listen to me at all. Just do it. But if you enjoyed Stanley Parable at all from like 2013, you're like, Ultra Deluxe Edition for that game is a weird concept. Congrats. It is. And they know it. It's effectively Stanley Parable 2. And they don't, and what's great about that description is like they don't tell you anything about what they put in there. And I'm like, I wonder if it'll just be little stuff. And they play with that notion in the game. And then it is so massive what they have added to everything. All I can say is silly birds. Check out that game. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is going on my top 10 list. If you have any interest in storytelling, meta-narrative, narrative design, video games, Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is a can't miss. And it's cheap for what it is.
Wow. Put that on the box art.
I haven't played it.
It's my highest recommendation.
Yeah. This is this year's Forgotten City, Ains. That's like one you'll probably miss, but you shouldn't. Yeah.
Is it a narrative kind of game like that? Like, how's it play?
Yes. Yeah, you can't hit anything.
Oh, you didn't play the first one?
I haven't played it.
You never played Stanley Parable? I don't even want to tell you anything about Stanley Parable. Just go play it.
Yep.
If you want, I will buy you Ultra Deluxe if that is what you need to tip yourself over the edge. I love this game so much.
Okay. It's a great game.
And what platform is it on? Everything or?
It's on everything. We're actually playing it on the Switch.
Okay. Well, calm down. Okay.
Oh no, I'm just telling you that it plays on a decade-old cell phone driver. So it plays on everything.
All right. I'm checking it out. There you go. I'll buy it this week, I promise. And I will report back next week.
Awesome.
Cool. Dan, you're obligated to play it with me, by the way.
Okay, now we're getting
Nope.
homework assignments from Hogue. This
Ain't
is
happening.
crazy.
I'll look at it and see what it is. I have no idea. I've never even heard of it. I think I've heard Hogue
I've seen
mention
a
it
lot
a
of
few
people
times.
talking about it, but I've just never checked
Yeah,
it
that's
out.
that. Yeah,
So
I think that's
good.
kind of where I'm at.
It's so
Yeah.
good. And the reason they have trouble marketing it or otherwise, or have fun marketing it, is
Can't
like,
show anything.
I don't want to tell you anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just play it.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough. What else, guys? Anything good?
No.
I'm playing 3 games right now
Okay.
that I cannot talk about. That's my situation.
That doesn't help our
Unfortunately.
podcast.
Oh, he loves that power move, doesn't he? The old,
It's not a power
"Oh,
move.
I got
I
games."
I'm just under strict NDA, guys. I can't talk
It's
about
the
any of
strictest
these
of
things.
NDAs.
that I'm
I had
playing.
to put the extra loot in a different drawer so you wouldn't see it on the frame here. You know how it is. Am I right, gentlemen?
Yeah. I switched these posters out briefly before
Yeah.
we started the show.
Of course.
How do I do this? How do I do this show?
I don't know if you know, but I write for IGN. Have you heard of it?
I'm kind of a big deal.
Oh my God! All right, three
boy.
games you can't talk about yet. Are any of them
Travis,
good?
I sincerely
Unfortunately,
hope
but
Are any of them
I
good?
really hope that one of those is one that you can at least enjoy the playing of.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
yes,
sincere.
yeah. I think all 3 of them are gonna, are decent games, and I'll be able to
Okay.
talk about 2 of them next week. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm at the end of an NDA here.
Okay.
coming up, so.
2 of them
Alright.
he can talk about next week. The last one he's playing through right now is Starfield. You heard it here first, folks.
That one will be June for sure, probably late June. But yeah, I've got next week. Ask me again next week. I'm playing a bunch of stuff.
All right, fair enough. Okay, guys. So why don't we jump over to kind of the our big topic for the week, which is breaking down these PlayStation Plus details. We talked a few weeks ago when they kind of first announced this revision, which we were generally unimpressed with, I would say.
Mhm.
And then a couple days ago, we got kind of the full details. So first things first, this new kind of PlayStation Plus is a global rollout, but it's staggered. So if you weren't aware of kind of when your PlayStation Plus will be changing or evolving, whatever word you want to use, starts in Asia, May 24th. That probably doesn't apply to a lot of people listening to this. Japan on June 2nd. North and South America, it's going to be June 13th. So funny enough, the Monday right after the Xbox showcase is when the new PS Plus will go live. If you're in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, that's June 23rd. So the first thing that was announced this week, which was a surprise, is that Ubisoft is also partnering with PlayStation on this new PS Plus. And they have 2 things that are coming, 2 separate things, which I think people might have gotten confused on. So
It's easy enough to do.
Yeah, exactly, because there's a lot of weird kind of nuances to how they're doing this. So Ubisoft Plus is the current service, the premium service. It's $15 a month, only on PC currently, where you get basically the Ubisoft catalog. So you get day 1 releases of Ubisoft titles. You get their, a bunch of their classic titles. It's kind of like this all in on Ubisoft subscription that you can get. That is coming to Xbox and PlayStation at a later date. They haven't announced a date for that yet, but that is coming. So you'll be able to subscribe to that separately on your console instead of just PC if you want to. Now, what they also announced this week was that Ubisoft Plus Classics is a separate thing that is going to come as part of the PlayStation Plus tier. So what that is it says right here, beginning May 24th. So as we record in a couple days here, a new Ubisoft Plus subscription for PlayStation Plus called Ubisoft Plus Classics. This is a curated selection of games, including top-selling games like Valhalla, Division, For Honor, as well as a bunch of their classic catalog. They said it's going to launch with 27 titles and grow to 50 by the end of the year. So the weird thing about this is it's going to be bundled with PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium tiers, which are the 2nd and 3rd tier. Here we go with these damn tiers again. And if you find on our site, by the way, all the details of this are on our site, so you can pull that up if you want to. But the question, of course, for you guys is, does this interest you? Does having a catalog of old Ubisoft titles add any kind of benefit to you as far as your PlayStation Plus subscription? Do you care about this at all?
I mean, I have more questions than that, honestly.
Go for it.
The first is the naming convention. They use classics, and when I see Ubisoft Classics, honestly, my head goes like, all right, let's go, play some 2D DOS, Prince of Persia or whatever else you're going to pull up out of you're going to figure out how to work Anno, Age of Discovery in there. And that's not this. Like they say here, we're also doing Ubisoft classics, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is like one of their most recent major successes. And I'm like, okay, you just picked a name out of a hat for this, which makes it even more confusing.
Hogue, you forgot to ask permission to treat Ubisoft as hostile here.
Yes, I should. Well, no, I think that obviously any value you can add to your Game Pass equivalent is going to be a good deal. Like that it's better. Nobody is saying, hey, I wish we didn't have those more games.
Sure.
One of the interesting things in terms of, and this is just the way I read things, right, as a lawyer, is the term bundled means that they're specifically keeping the separate identity of Ubisoft Plus Classics. And that also implies to me that this is, I don't know, a teaser first hit kind of situation that they've worked out with Sony. Because Sony's stuff, and we can talk about the rest of the stuff, the specifics, is, in my opinion, I'll just give you the spoiler alert, not terribly impressive. And so the more stuff that they can add into it, the better it can look at the top. And again, we're in what we would call user acquisition phase for any of these things. You're keeping the numbers down in terms of price as best you can. You're trying to throw things at people. This is what we saw from Netflix a decade ago. This is what we saw from Game Pass really right now. And so to me, the signaling I get from an article like this is you're not going to have this forever. We're trying to get you interested in Ubisoft Plus on the PlayStation. So we're going to give you a teaser package and we're going to try to sell it to you. And so my excitement is limited on that front. Otherwise, I like Ubisoft. I think their list is pretty good for the classics, but I just think this whole thing is coming together like with bubble gum and baling wire, and I can't trust it at all. That's where I sit. I do like Ubisoft games though.
Yeah, and it does. To your point, that's kind of what we're going to go through because the way they broke this out on the PlayStation blog this week, it was like here's a chunk and here's a chunk and here's a chunk and here's a chunk, and that's how we're going to talk through it. So it is interesting the way they've broken this apart. And I saw someone, funny enough, in the chat say Rayman, KLF. Rayman's not included, at least not today.
I think that might be a response to what you think of when you think Ubisoft Classic.
Classics,
like,
yeah.
You think of a Ubisoft Classic, Rayman is like what number one, maybe of what you think.
For me, yeah.
So
there's like Far Cry 3 and 4, the South Park games, Steep, The Crew, The Division 1. Like it's not overly impressive, at least in my opinion. The first Watch Dogs, right? And then some of their smaller games as well.
This is my problem with
the first Watch Dogs is weird.
The first Watch Dogs is well,
it's that should be 2. Seller. Like if you look at the contemporaneous stuff that they're giving you, that should be Watch Dogs 2 right there. So that's odd. That's an oddball in terms of the years that we're looking at. Like Watch Dogs 2 is comparable to some of these things. Certainly, Valhalla is their big ticket item that they throw out there. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre list. Sorry, Travis, I didn't mean to jump on you.
Yeah, I was just going to say my problem with these sorts of subscription services is when they announce it and they go, including some of our best sellers. I'm like, well, if they're your best sellers, then people already have them. So like, give me a subscription service with like all your worst sellers, like the games that I for sure haven't played. Like that's the subscription
I want your 6s, your 5, 6, 7.
Travis has already played all those.
Where's that
for sure. I reviewed those, but
Ubisoft, where's that space game where you tried to sell me a ship that I attached to my controller? Give me that one.
I'm serious.
They did. Sorry. Starlink is included in their classics.
Yeah, I would be more likely to pay for a subscription service that had all the games that I didn't play. You know what I mean? Because it's just all these games I've played or I have in my library or whatever. And so it doesn't super excite me. But I mean, if you're trying to break into, an ecosystem and you get some Ubisoft games that are some big ones, some recent ones, some weird ones like Watch Dogs 1. And then, I agree. The name is odd, the classics.
Classics and Valhalla is like, what did my brain just do?
Yeah, this actually really reminds me of the EA Play move with Xbox Game Pass, where that was like one of their first big gets, and that's still a part of Game Pass. So I wouldn't bet on Ubisoft Classics going away on the PlayStation subscription, just because it seems to have become kind of part of Game Pass's brand for EA. So it's an interesting move, though, for sure.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder too. I mean, Ubisoft previously announced that Ubisoft Plus was coming to Xbox. So it'd be interesting to see if this whole classics thing does get added to.
It will no longer be coming to Xbox. I'm willing to give you my hat on that one.
Oh, for sure.
The classics play?
Yeah, no, Ubisoft, they've picked their sides.
No. Ubisoft announced in this that it's still coming to PlayStation and Xbox. Ubisoft Plus,
but not Game Pass.
No, again. See, this is the problem. Ubisoft Plus is the paid subscription that's still coming to PlayStation and Xbox separately. It's not coming out anytime. Well, at least not now. Ubisoft Plus Classics is what we're talking about here. That is being bundled with PS Plus Extra and Premium.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't get Ubisoft Plus with the PlayStation Premium.
Correct. You don't get Ubisoft Plus.
Probably.
Correct.
Whatever they're charging. Yeah. So you're paying probably $32 for the whole thing.
I think what Hoag's saying is that the Classics is probably not going to come to Xbox.
Probably not. Okay. Yeah. Which we'll see. Yeah.
Well, the interesting subtext to all that, Ains, and maybe you were already getting to that, and I apologize if I'm jumping on that, is that, we're in an era of consolidation, and Ubisoft is up for grabs, just as EA is. So picking sides here on all of this stuff, every news article we read on anything like this matters. Connecting your company with one of these hardware manufacturers is a big freaking deal in the year 2022. So there's all sorts of things happening. I know we're going to talk about EA later in the show, but there's all sorts of things happening.
Yeah, there are. And to your point, it all plays into the larger equation for sure. So perhaps at least to me, the most interesting piece of what they announced this week were the actual PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 titles that are going to be included again in the extra and premium tiers of PS Plus. And these were a lot more intriguing than the Ubisoft bundle. So I'm obviously not going to run down all the games included here. Like I said, the whole list is on our site. You can pull that up while we're talking.
That would be a great show. You just read off titles. That'd be a good show. 40 minutes.
So there's a bunch of first party stuff, some really good games here, right? You've got Uncharted, you've got The Last of Us, you've got things like Resogun, Returnal, Shadow of the Colossus, you've got the Spider-Man games, you've got Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut, Demon Souls. I mean, there's a lot of good games here. Bloodborne, I'll throw that out there. I mean, it's okay. And then you also have third-party games. And again, it's not a gigantic list, but there's some good games here. You get funny enough, you get Valhalla. So take that as you will. It's in two parts of the service. You get Arkham Knight. You get some Far Cry's. You get Final Fantasy 15, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2. Some decent games. So I think that as we saw with PS Plus previously, you kind of had this curated selection of AAA titles and some first-party stuff. And it just simply looks like they're expanding that, right? Like the offering of what they're including from first-party and now some third-party agreements is expanding. And I think that's pretty much anyone who subscribes to kind of PS Plus and is being migrated to this premium service. This is just a nice addition, if you will, to what you're already getting, in my opinion.
Well, if you're just subscribed to PlayStation Plus right now, you're just getting PlayStation Plus. Like that's the normal. That's the lowest tier.
They're migrating you to premium. Your existing membership, like say you have 8 months left of PS Plus today, that'll be 8 months of premium when they migrate.
I thought it was if you had.
Yeah, I thought you just get
now is included. Like if you had PS Now.
Right? So sorry, go ahead.
No, hold on. So I thought it was if whatever you had the most of. Let's say you had like 2 years of PSN or whatever, and you had PlayStation Now, you got upgraded to the premium tier. If you just had PS Plus, I didn't know you got upgraded to the premium tier with whatever you. I don't think you did. I thought you got like.
Then I'm mistaken. I apologize. I could have sworn that's what I had read previously.
It would have been a new thing that was added this week that I missed if it was, because before what they said was if you have PlayStation Plus, your service becomes PlayStation Plus Essential. Essential is just Plus. It's just multiplayer and whatever random games we decide to deign upon you. But I'm looking at their FAQ right now just to make sure, because they need a FAQ because there's now 3 tiers and 4 services and God help me.
And funny enough, there's 4 tiers because there's a separate deluxe one in different regions, which is like, what are you doing?
Well, Ains, I was going to mention when you called out Valhalla, if you look at the Valhalla entry, it actually has 3 asterisks. And in fairness, there are 4 tiers of asterisk. And one of the things I tweeted out when this announcement was made is by the time you need a 4 asterisk footnote, you've given up on clarity. Okay. like just in general. And so that 3 asterisk footnote next to Valhalla says you'll be getting Valhalla through the Ubisoft Classics Plus edition. So it goes back to that. Okay. But God help us all.
Yeah. Okay. You have to pay extra to upgrade. Captain Crunch says you have to pay extra to upgrade unless you have both active subs for Plus and Now. So like Dan said, like you said. So I apologize. I could have sworn I had it wrong. So that to me is even worse, obviously.
Yeah, it's worse.
No, I found it in the fact. Your membership will roll into PlayStation Plus Essential. So everybody's right. Chat's right. Dan's right.
Industry experts, and we can't figure out the subscription service.
To Rick's point, if you have to have 4 asterisks next to something, you've messed up from the start.
Like, your clarity's gone. Your clarity's gone.
The asterisks are for each representing one industry expert. You'll need to interpret
and you may still get it wrong. Let's add
one of them has to be a lawyer.
They keep adding one. So this one added Ubisoft Plus. I expect by the time we finally launch this thing, you'll have like 6 to the nth asterisks at the bottom of this thing, and you'll have to read them like financial statements.
Well, oh boy. Okay, so at least we cleared that up for the people listening. So
yes,
sorry.
That's the most important part.
It is. So sorry about the confusion there. Apologies. So you get this larger group of games now, and then as we also heard, the premium/deluxe. Deluxe is for other regions depending on where you're listening to this, but the highest tier, we'll say, will also have the capability to download and or stream classic PlayStation titles, and we got the first list of those. The list is a lot shorter than I was personally expecting. It's only about 25, 30 games looking at this. There's only 9 third-party games listed currently, and maybe about 20-25 first-party games, including some old games like Hot Shots Tennis, Jack and Daxter 2 and 3, Ape Escape 2. We know Siphon Filter was coming, obviously. A few of those, and then they also said that. Sorry for the continued clarity here. Some of those games, which they didn't detail which, but some of those games will have increased frame rate and resolution. They're also adding some PS3 games, which will be streaming only. So just like it is on PS Now today, there's going to be, looking at this, maybe 25, 30 games from PS3 that you'll be able to stream. But those games will remain whatever frame rate and resolution they are on PS3 today. They're not enhanced in any way. So now that I've confused everyone.
Sony did this. We're doing our best.
I'm doing my best reading through this. Like I said, all of the detail with all of the games is on our site. You can check it out there if you need clarity. But let's get back to the bigger question here, which is, after reading all of this week and getting more detail on what these offerings actually are, do you feel any better about personally upgrading to premium going forward? Or are you just at a place where this doesn't kind of... Dan, I'm actually going to start with you, because we started with Game Pass last week, right? Because you stopped your Game Pass subscription because to you, the value just wasn't there. And so I want to hear your thoughts on premium PS Plus, looking at these list of games, most of which are older games, obviously, or games you already own. Do you feel the same way here, or is there more intrinsic value with PS Plus, do you feel, for you personally?
I don't think I have. I mean, this is worse. However, I'm going to say this. When they announced that all this stuff was going to be converting over, right? I had 2 years of PSN codes. I had nobody else to give them to. I put them on there. I also had a 6-month PS Now thing. Turns out that was the right thing to do, because they stopped the stacking of.
Yes, they prevented the stacking now. Yeah,
I did that maybe 2 weeks before they announced that.
Okay.
So now I have PSN, and I will apparently, I think, will get premium for like almost 3 years, like 2.5 years. So I'll have this, and I spent maybe $70 total.
Sure,
it wasn't really, maybe $80, which is probably about the same amount I spent on the Game Pass initially when they had the dollar transition where you can just transition everything over.
Yep.
With that being said, I'm not going to use any of this. So it's one of those things where it's like, I had it, I already had it sitting there, I had to use it, I might as well just get rid of it, and this, to me, I mean, aside from being just super confusing, I'm not a big fan of going back and playing these older games. I buy pretty much anything that I want anyway. So like if a big game comes out, like, and say like Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example, right? I wanted to play that game really bad. It came out on Game Pass, whatever, 3 to 6 months afterwards. For me, that's not good enough. These companies, this is the year for me of down with the streaming services. So I'm hoping by the end of the year that I only have like 1 or 2, which we'll see. I've already canceled several of them. So I'm just tired of just not getting the content when I can just go ahead and buy it and not have to worry about it. Don't have to worry about it ever leaving the service. Don't ever have to worry about it, coming 3 months later where I've missed out on, the initial, gamer party and all that stuff, all the FOMO and everything. So yeah, this to me, this is about the same thing. And the only reason I'm going to have it for a couple of years is because I had bought the codes at a discount. If I have to pay full price for this, absolutely not. There'd be no chance. No chance.
Yeah, the other thing I forgot. So 2 more pieces of context. I'm sorry. I want to be as clear as possible for people listening who haven't looked through these details. So one thing I forgot to add at the end is that they also mentioned trials previously, right? Which at the end here, they detail, again, this is for the top tier. They offer 2-hour limited game trials. Now it is the full game. And if you decide to buy the game afterwards, you do all your progress remains and trophies and everything else. So they've only announced so far that there's going to be a trial for Uncharted Legacy: A Thieves Collection and Horizon Forbidden West, first party, and 4 third-party games: Cyberpunk, Tiny Tina's, WWE 2K22, and Farming Simulator 2022. Now, the last piece, the only 6 games. The last thing
I think I'd love them. You think about Horizon Forbidden West's first 2 hours, gentlemen. Think of the first 2 hours of Horizon Forbidden West, right? No, think about what kind of sales pitch the first 2 hours of Horizon Forbidden West is.
The worst.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'll give it that. The last thing I will say is this is not the final list. So they've been clear that they are continuing to add to this. There's going to be more games and trials and the PS Plus collection and everything else. So this is just what they've announced so far. So I want to be fair there. So anyway, Travis or Rick, your guys' thoughts on this as an offering, and do you plan to be a premium member?
I don't know. Travis, you want to go first or me?
Go ahead.
I'm resentful of all of this. So
I'm going to treat you as hostile if you're not careful.
Please do. No, I'm resentful of. I grew increasingly resentful of them putting the stuff that is the hardest to get on the highest tier. When I own basically everything that's interesting to me on every other tier, they're delivering it in 6,000 different ways that don't make a ton of sense, and streaming and remasters and all this stuff. All I really want to play is Siphon Filter. And if they offer that to sell that to me, maybe that would be okay. But right now, they hide all of this stuff that is otherwise very difficult to access on your PlayStation 5 or your PlayStation 4 on this top tier and make you pay for everything else that you don't need. And it's clear to me when you look at these lists that they do not have uptake from third-party collaborators like we would have hoped, right? By the time WB is offering Lego Harry Potter Collection, which, by the way, was on sale for $1.99 on the PlayStation Store like a week ago, when that's their contribution, when you see these other things that are also very old, very cheaply sold, and that's what they're putting into this service, they don't believe in this service either. Now, to some extent, third parties are always prove it to me. And if you go to the early days of Game Pass, you see some similar kind of thoughts there. But I just do not see the uptake I would have wanted to see. I do not see PlayStation and Sony offering what I would want, or to the extent that it is offering what I would want, I own it already. And so there's no reason for me to get any of this. And yeah, I'm mildly intrigued when they start describing, we remastered some of our classics and not others. What does that mean? What exactly happened? And why can't I pay you money to just get that tier if that's the only way you're going to make it offered to me, rather than all the rest of this junk, which I don't need? So resentful is where I feel on that. Not because Sony shouldn't go out and try to make as much money it can. If this is what their bean counters figured out was going to be the best for them, great. I think their bean counters are wrong. And I think asking for people to go have to get a master's in understanding what this says before actually purchasing one of their products is going to blow up in their faces pretty significantly. The beauty of Game Pass is you buy the Game Pass and you have the games. Everything else is very, very difficult here. And maybe it will collapse a little bit into simplicity when it's you hit the button and then you see what you got.
Yeah.
But right now, as it stands, they can't explain all these various tiers. And I probably wouldn't have even tried. I probably would have had a blog post that said, we know we're gonna have Spider-Mans, we're gonna have blah 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 blah. I would have done another generic post that said, here's some stuff. I wouldn't have even have tried to explain it, because at the end of the day, it's what happens when I hit the extra button. What happens when I hit the premium button? And am I satisfied with the value offering there? I actually think when you were wrong and you thought that you got some kind of trial period at premium, that makes a ton of sense to me. Roll over what people have into premium so they can see what it is, because using words is like trying to evaluate a VR game from a video right now. In my opinion. That's what I see. That's my feeling.
Yeah, that's fair. And I have to wonder, to your point, if someone there thought, you know what we'll do is we'll make it look like you get 8 different things so that it looks like this big offering, right? And instead, all you've managed to do is confuse everyone and not really kind of condense, to your point, what it feels like people are getting. A couple things I want to comment before you go, Travis.
Can I say one other thing, Ains? Can I say right before?
Of course.
One exercise you might want to do to talk about Ubisoft Classics and why this deal was made. Look at these lists. Rest of the panelists, chat. Look at these lists if you take out the things with the 3 asterisks and what Sony would have had to go out to the public with without them.
Yep.
So
yeah, I didn't even see that.
Happened.
As you pointed that out, I did that in my head, and I was like, wow, that really drains this list quite a bit from third party.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. Jack Green says, no, Last of Us 2 is interesting. Remaster coming? ? Who knows? I mean, they're remastering Last of Us 1 for the 3rd time. So
the 3rd time in 8 years.
Yeah. So with Last of Us 2 and the movie. Last of Us 2, who knows? They obviously upgraded it for PS5. It runs and plays great there. It certainly doesn't feel like it needs any kind of remaster. It's a beautiful game already. Who knows? I don't know. I refuse to guess as to what they're doing at this point. Someone else said, Nubilac says they don't have to do the first 2 hours. Isn't it up to the dev? Potentially. So I actually, as you asked that question, I went to PlayStation's blog, and it says, with more clarity, you can play it for 2 hours for most games.
That goes both directions, readers. That goes both directions.
I don't know. So that's as much clarity as it gives. So they said 2 hours for most games. So we'll see.
You can anticipate that Sony's going to have 2 hours.
Probably. Yeah, exactly. First party will probably be, and we'll see what they do with the rest of them. But to your point, Hogue, you think about Horizon Forbidden West, that already seems like a mistake. But even something like Cyberpunk, 2 hours is not enough to get any kind of inkling of what that game represents. It seems.
But what are the EA trials? Aren't they 10? Like 10 feels good. 10 feels good with the option of the developer to take an indie game or something that's shorter and bring that way down. But like for Cyberpunk, for Horizon, 10 to me seems like right. You want to get a feel for that? It's probably 10.
Yep. Exactly. And then lastly, the last thing we forgot to mention, of course, is that, and this was a news item this week, because it is interesting, if nothing else, is that they're adding trophy support to Siphon Filter, which is a PlayStation 1 classic, of course, which is interesting because, as I think many of us know, people have been asking Xbox and PlayStation for years to add achievement and trophy support to classic games. And it's been one of those things that if you're an achievement or trophy hunter, it's just cool, right? Because you can go back and play games you love and get trophies and achievements. So this is the first we've seen of it. I think it's a neat idea. We'll see how many they do. They haven't announced if they're doing, how many more games. It obviously won't be the only one, but we don't know how many games they're going to do this for. But
could be the only one. Maybe this is a flyer. Maybe they're testing it.
It could be a test to see how many people actually go back and play it, I guess. But you would think the technical work they'd have to put in to do it would be wasteful to only do it for one game. You would think, but who knows?
How much of an upgrade are we anticipating for remastered classic games?
As usual, they didn't specify.
Okay, because I mean,
a remaster implies development time, right? It's not just like running it.
I think remaster in this context, Travis, is Xbox's auto HDR and auto FPS boost and potentially some kind of auto resolution AI thing.
I don't even think it'll be that good. My opinion.
But what I mean is, it's back end things we can throw at old code to go be like Bleem or Dolphin.
Again, I have the official PlayStation blog right here.
Yeah.
And all it says is some titles will show improved frame rates and higher quality resolution compared to their original launch versions. There's a lot of caveats.
Is that what they're calling remasters, though? Is that a remaster?
They never use the word remaster.
Yeah, yeah, they do.
Well,
Classic Games Catalog -remasters.
Oh, well, I think those were games that were already remastered, though. Do you know what I mean? Like they're the remastered version of that game originally. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, it can, right? That list is the things that you can play. So here's the thing I've had a problem with for what Sony has done here for forever, right? You go and you look at, Demon Souls or, the new Spyros, which I know isn't Sony's or something like that. And then you look at something like Jak 2, Jak 3, like the Jak trilogy. And we know
great games.
When you look at that, it's like, that is just a version of the PlayStation 2 games that they got running on a PlayStation 4. Like nothing has been done. Like you go and you play those and you're like, okay, but they're calling that a remaster by the looks of things. Cause this is, and they separated them out. You want to know how desperate Sony is right now? So what we have is a product on the PlayStation 4 called the Jak and Daxter trilogy. That gets 3 bullets on this list for Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X, because why not?
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with it. They run. I like playing Dark Cloud too. But it's like, it might as well be on a PlayStation 2 versus what does it mean? What does select games will get upgrades mean? I don't know. I have no idea. No,
you're right. Yeah, it says, good God. And I'm sorry for audio listeners or even you guys in chat right now. This is we're not trying to make this confusing. This is what we're dealing with. So it says some titles will show improved frame rates and higher quality resolution compared to their original launch versions. And I think the reason they use that wording is because you have these classic game catalog, right, which may get some benefits. And then to your point, it says classic games catalog remasters. But I think that what they're saying is these were games that were already remastered that are now releasing in that state that could potentially benefit from the new hardware giving them better frame rate and resolution to your point.
Which makes sense to me, Ains.
Yes.
And that would be essentially 3 categories of overlapping groups, right? It would be new stuff. It would be stuff that you've already been able to buy in a crap state because we didn't touch it at all. And then it's a third group of something that could be out of both of those groups that we actually did bother to do something.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yep.
I don't know how I should take that when I can't tell what games they are.
Exactly, because they don't tell you. It's just some is the word.
But this is the problem. I think the meta conversation here is that I read things for a living. We're all smart guys. We're seasoned, and the thing is damn near inscrutable.
We do have a couple questions, and you, Travis, I know you got to give your thoughts here, but you can add your thoughts to these questions as you go. One person said, would it make sense to also add, and just the sheer thought of an additional category here is funny to begin with. But someone asked, do you add something just for indies going forward? And then I missed the second question. Damn it. I'm sorry. Trying to keep up with everything here. Darren, what's up, Darren? Good to see you, man. He said, is the streaming stuff provided through Azure or their old Gaikai tech? As I understand it, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, this is the PSD streaming as you know it today in PS Now. I don't think there's any kind of upgrade that is expected for the streaming games as part of this rollout. So, Travis. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. All I was going to say is I know enough to be dangerous here, but the actual streaming tech, the software can run on Azure servers. I thought they've been doing that throughout this period since they signed the deal with Azure. So I could be wrong.
Yeah, they haven't provided full clarity there. There is a transition to some of the back-end PlayStation services to Azure just because, when you're talking about cloud, it's AWS, Azure, or Google. I mean, that's 85% of the world right now in cloud. So they are transitioning a lot of those back-end services. They haven't really detailed what's what, like what's running on what. So I don't know. But they certainly haven't announced any upgrades from where it streams today on PS Now to this service. It seems like it's the same thing. So Travis, you're gonna make this super clear for us. It's gonna be crystal clear after you speak, right? Take
I
us
hope
away.
so. I had like my thoughts, and then now I don't even know where to begin because we've covered so much since the initial question. Um, so a few things. One, I think when we talked about this originally, I was relieved because it wasn't a Game Pass competitor. It was sort of like them doing their own thing. And now I'm starting to wonder uh, if that's still true, because it's starting to look a little bit more like a Game Pass competitor, which I personally think PlayStation shouldn't do. Right, like Microsoft was losing pretty badly in the war against PlayStation, doing things the old way, so they changed the game. And I think that Sony plays into Microsoft's hand if they start to chase, you know, Microsoft's Game Pass subscription and try beating them there. I just think that their model works for them and it does a very specific thing that I don't think you get on Xbox. Like the thing that I liked about PlayStation Plus is that when you had PlayStation Plus, you felt like king of the realm in PlayStation land. You're there and you get all of the games and perks of doing so, and no ads. Nobody's trying to sell you add-ons or whatnot. And now, if you have PlayStation Plus, the equivalent of it, right? You're on the lowest tier of a paid member, and I assume that they're going to be trying to upsell you stuff. Oh, you want to play this demo? Well, buy the most expensive version of our subscription service. And I think that cheapens the walled garden that they've built and that they've done a really good job maintaining with high quality content. And I don't know if the model matches what PlayStation's built. I also don't know if the offerings are going to be competitive. Old games, Microsoft will be the first one to tell you with their backwards compatibility program. They do not drive users playing them. Like there's a very small percentage of people who are interested in playing old games that haven't been remastered or remade. That I think hurts them. And then partnering with people like Ubisoft, it makes their model depend a little bit too much, in my opinion, on things that could go away. To Hoag's point, right? Like this isn't necessarily a forever part of the package. It's just a partnership that they have now. The demo thing bothers me. The putting games that they know people want to play behind the final tier bothers me. I personally am very happy in my decision to stay at the lowest tier, but for how much longer, I don't know, and that's not a great feeling. When you used to pay the same amount and be on the top of the mountain, and now you're basically a pleb. If you only pay for the regular PS Now, that's not a great feeling. I just feel like they could have done a lot better if they just made this a completely separate service like they did with PS Now, and just make it very cut and dried, right? Like you still get your PlayStation Plus subscription. You get all the stuff you used to get from that, and then here's this other thing. But I think they've muddied the waters by making this confusing tier list and making it feel like it's all part of the same program, when really this is like 18 programs stitched together. I mean, that's the main problem, right? That's why it's so confusing. Is it's like, well, there's the demo program, and then there's the Ubisoft Plus program, and then there's the backwards compatibility. It's just so many different kind of things that they're like, oh, it's all part of the same thing, and it just doesn't feel that way. And I think that's part of their problem. So I suspect that this program will not look the same way that they're presenting it in a year. Definitely not in 2 years. And we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm emboldened by my choice to just stay on the normal tier, at least for now, and we'll see if I continue to feel that way.
Travis, you make a great point, because I'm also going to stay on Essential. Ains and Dan, do you have any feel for what you're going to do when this tier change happens over the summer?
I'm already locked in. I think we're going to see what happens on the 13th and what happens with my subscription. I should be locked into the premium for 2 years.
Okay,
that's what should happen. After that, it's out. There's no question.
Yeah, and right at the very end, they do say one more thing I need to mention. They do say that this monthly refresh of games will still happen for PS Plus Essential members. So, every month they say, here's what's coming for PS Plus, and you get 2 games or whatever. That's still going to happen. For extra and premium members, there will be a refresh twice a month, I think.
Yeah,
an additional monthly refresh will occur in the middle of the month. Yeah, so you get you get one monthly refresh if you're essential. You get 2 monthly refreshes if you're extra or premium.
Well, because they're different refreshes, right? So the monthly refresh for PlayStation Plus is what are your free games, and the monthly refresh for extra and premium is what did we just lose our contract rights to?
Exactly.
And
That's
gain,
exactly right.
And gain, but like so they're negotiating their contract license rights on a 2 week basis.
Yeah.
That's
Which is kind of what Game Pass has done, right? Because Game Pass has 2 times a month where they announce what's coming and leaving.
Is that how Game Pass works? Because I'm not. It's not like I'm keeping a calendar next to it, but I felt like I go in once a week and then you can see a few more indies there because I usually go and grab them and play them. Is it not once a week?
They have basically 2 announcements a month, right? So they say here's the calendar of what's coming over the next few weeks, but then the games release in a staggered state. That's why you see new games kind of every week.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
good.
popping into my Game Pass button and being like, "Ooh, I wanted that."
Yeah, exactly. It's a good way to do it. I like how they do it for sure. For me, to answer your question, Rick, directly, I don't think there's anything here that is making me go premium. There's very little that I don't, to Dan's point, very little I don't already own or already play if I want to. There's not enough of the older stuff that intrigues me to really make me go, subscribe to this. Literally, the only thing I saw in here that I thought I would play is like, Miles Morales, because I just never bought it. I'm not a huge Spider-Man guy. And I was like, I'll play Miles. Yeah, and I've heard great things, of course.
It's great.
But I was like, I'll check it out if it's in the subscription, but it's premium, it's extra and premium only. Well, no, I'm not going to subscribe just to play that. I can go buy it for $20. So yeah, I'm staying essential until they show me more personally.
And I really am curious. You heard me say resentful. I really am curious if you've got I'm using Siphon Filter as an example because I've wanted to play Siphon Filter on one of my modern systems for forever.
Sure.
But I'm really curious if they're actually literally going to say Siphon Filter is totally functional. You don't have to stream it or anything like that. We are only going to make it available to play if you're paying us this exorbitant amount of money on the premium tier of PlayStation Now, rather than here you can go buy it for what would be kind of an exorbitant amount compared to the subscription. Because I'll just go grab the damn thing if you make it available. But they have indicated that not at all. Not that I would expect them to. To be clear on corporate messaging, you have a platform you're putting out. You don't go and say you don't have to use this at all in the same time that you're announcing it. But if they sell these things, I would probably buy a Jumping Flash. I would probably buy a Siphon Filter, things that remind me of what I love about their first generation. But I'm not willing to go and pay for a bunch of stuff I don't need in the middle.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. So a few comments I want to go ahead, Dan.
The key here is with all these services, right, is to make them indispensable. And we've talked about that before.
Yes.
The gamers, they haven't done that with this. I don't think Game Pass has done it either, but that's a whole other thing. But the bottom line is, we don't know. We can sit here and talk about is this going to be profitable? Can they sustain this? We have no idea because every company's got a different, red line, I guess, where they go, okay, we need to have this many subscribers to, hit this number and then we're happy, right? So for Xbox, it's going to be different than PlayStation than it's going to be for Nintendo. They're all going to have different ways of getting there. But with the subscriptions in general, I mean, if you have to be able to, one, make it clear, which they haven't done, and two, just come out and say, this is what you're going to get, and you can look at numbers and break them down and all that stuff. But really in the end, as long as they're going to be profitable on this, or Xbox is, profitable, even if they're not, necessarily, I mean, we don't know, we know how much they make, right? But we don't know sometimes, but we don't know, are they in the red? Are they in the black? Does it really matter? Absolutely not. But I want a service to come out that's like, okay, we're gonna give you these day and date games, right? And we're gonna continue. Like, content is key, but also the way to deliver that content, they go hand in hand, and I don't think anybody's really hit that point yet. Like, I look at Game Pass, I'm like, man, I can play this pretty much anywhere. This is fantastic. I can,
yeah.
No, but I'm missing the content. With this, I have no content. I can't really access it everywhere. I can access it in one place, and it drives me crazy. So, I almost wish I would have just gave away my codes now, because the more I look at it, the more I'm disappointed with something that I got a really, really good deal on. But nevertheless, and maybe in a year from now, it'll completely be different. It'll change. Game Pass went through that too.
Sure.
So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, there's a few comments. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and value, as always, is subjective. I mean, that should be obvious, right? So, there's a few comments I want to comment on. So, someone, Lucas says, that's how I feel about Game Pass. Nothing there to interest me. That's fine. And I feel like we have to say we're not the group. If you think this is a podcast that's pitting Game Pass against PS Plus as some Xbox versus PlayStation thing, that's not us. You're in the wrong place. If you feel that Game Pass is not worth your money, by all means, don't subscribe to it. Dan doesn't subscribe to it. We've talked about that. It's whatever you want to do personally. Dabin Good says Johnny Depp sent me here. Just saying. I appreciate Johnny, and I appreciate you as well, Dabin. Good to see you. Thank you. Jack Green says, Rick, to your question, they did actually indicate that certain classics will be available outside of this service for separate purchase. I didn't see that. But
the one thing I did see is there's a note that says essentially, like, if you've bought some of these already, like on your PSP, like that, they'll be made available to you separately.
They say Vita too.
Yeah, I'm sure. Again, there's so many random details here. I think it's if you have like a version of this already, they're going to give it to you, which is super cool. I mean, as long as we're talking about all the ridiculous stuff, that's a neat thing. If they can make it available to you on a different system because you already bought it. And heck, as I think about it, I almost certainly have the Siphon Filter that I would have bought on PSP or whatever from whenever they released it as a legacy edition. My question is, did my account stay the same? I mean, I have to really think about it. We're talking about like decades ago, right? So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I think that is positive. And again, I'm willing to say, okay, if you've done this work and you can make it work on my PlayStation 5, I'd probably get like my entire launch lineup of PlayStation 1 just to reminisce about 1995. Hit me with Jumpin' Flash. I'll take a Battle Arena Toshinden if we can get one of those up there. I'll play those. You may have heard me say this before. I love Siphon Filter. I would take all the Siphon Filters if you could give them to me. But
let's hope a new one's in the works.
Ben promises they're only working on a new IP, but I think it's Siphon Filter.
Yeah, we can hope. I know. I mean, between Siphon Filter and freaking Splinter Cell, I mean, people have been hoping for those to come back forever now. So
I've said in Twitter form, but like I still can't believe how underrepresented like the international spy genre is in video games. It's like the easiest genre to attach to what we do as a video game player. And
you know what I blame?
It just went away. What do you blame?
I blame the BioWare RPG that didn't do well. I think that the one where you played a James Bond like spy. What was that game called?
Okay. What was that called?
Shadow something.
Funny, I was going to say like Omega Protocol, Alpha Protocol.
Alpha Protocol. That was it. Yes, thank you. Great memory. I actually played through that whole game and think it's underrated, but that entire genre.
I think it's like a 7, but I think it's good.
Yeah, me too. I agree. But yeah, it's I think I blame that game. I think that's what did it because spy games were hot for a while there. There was like Mission Impossible games, some James Bond games, and then I think
even offshoot. Yeah.
Well, freaking Metal Gear Solid is one of the most popular franchises of all time. You have Splinter Cell happening at the same time, which was focused on stealth. And spy game is just, globe-trotting international mystery that you have to shoot people in is like, why? Where did we go? Now, I personally think Hitman's kind of a spy game, so I treat them like that, but.
And we do have
what feel like it though.
We have James Bond coming, so we'll see.
We do have James Bond coming from the team that makes Hitman.
Yeah, exactly. There was one other thing I was going to comment on. Damn it. Oh, going back to your point, Dan, about value and kind of like what releases here. I mean, the big thing we've talked about for a long time, as you noted, is day and date, right? New game releases, first party game releases, and that is still the big differentiator here between Game Pass and what Sony is doing. And now, of course, you have to have first party game releases. We talked about that last week or the week before. For that to be,
but you can supplement that with third party
Exactly.
deals. I know Xbox and I know Microsoft has got the cash to go out and get some of these, and they got Sniper Elite 5 coming out. They've got, Plague Tale Requiem is, I think, coming to Game Pass day and date, and that's great. But that's what you need to fill in those holes, and you do that. Then your service starts going, oh yeah, look at this, yeah.
And we get to play Sniper Elite on Tuesday, don't we?
Yeah,
it comes out this week. Yeah. So and Deathmobile says cloud saves. I know cloud saves.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, cloud saves should just be standard. I think we all agree there. That's an
my God, I forgot, dude. That's part of the reason I switched from PlayStation is the ease of saves. Oh my God.
Sony's
that is so
clunky.
bad that's behind a paywall. Oh no.
So clunky.
Very strange. But anyway, yeah. So I think we've broken that down about as much as we can for the time being. I think we all know this will evolve. It's going to be interesting to me to see how this service evolves, right? Like this is going to launch. PlayStation's going to run their numbers and see who upgrades and who does what tier, and then they'll start to recalculate and see what they have to do. And it'd be interesting. We'll have to revisit this maybe 6 months out, later this year, and see what's changed, if anything, on this service. It'll be interesting.
Can I say one last thing?
Of course.
So, Game Pass puts their games in day and date. I think that the demographics, the audiences here are a little bit shifted. I think that PlayStation Plus Extra / Premium, and they really want you in Premium. That they put the sizes of drinks out in front of you, and it's a little gap between Extra and Premium, and they put Extra in so that you can feel good about yourself for getting a deal on Premium. They want you in Premium, but I really think it's not for us. We're seasoned gaming. We talk about these things. I don't think it's for anybody that has a podcast that talks about video games and otherwise owns most of these products. I think it's for putting in a PlayStation 5 box and saying, here, you get 3 months of this, check it out. And this is just all you ever need to run your PlayStation. And for more what we would usually describe as casual users of gaming to just say, I have a PlayStation arcade machine and I don't ever have to think about it. Because the stuff that's in there is about a year old plus. If you don't care about these podcasts or the conversation online or whatever, you get Ghost of Tsushima Director's Edition and it comes popping into your system and you're like, cool, I'm going to go be a samurai. And it doesn't matter that it came out a year ago because it looks great and it plays fantastically. And I think that's what they aimed at. I do. So all of this conversation is great. I'm resentful of it personally. I think if it finds success, I think Sony aimed this at people that aren't in the PlayStation ecosystem, that don't play a ton of things. And then you can just say, I've hit that button, I pay a subscription fee, and the box sends me games. That's honestly what I think happened. Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add. I think we've kind of covered the gambit of what PS covered this week. So we'll see, like we said, how they launch. We'll see what comes of it. We'll see what gets added. I think that the biggest question that people will continue to ask, of course, is the day and date. People, every time PlayStation talks about their services, it's the first question that gets asked. They have already responded to it. And it's just going to be funny to see if that ever becomes a reality at this point. But anyway, we'll track it. We'll talk more about it. We'll check in on it in the future. So let's get to a couple other things that happened this week. And at least most interesting to me is the fact that this story kind of came out of nowhere. A site originally, I believe, and I hope I have this right, but called Puck News, which I had never heard of previously, but they kind of broke this story that Comcast chairman and CEO Brian Roberts, who, if you're not aware, Comcast is kind of this conglomerate of other companies that they own, including NBC Universal. They were apparently on the verge of acquiring EA, according to this report, and it fell through last month. So there's some minor kind of high level details on this, but according to the report, this was pretty close to kind of coming to fruition. But according to the report, they also said that EA had been in talks with Disney, Amazon, and Apple. So I don't have a lot of details here. Obviously, there's speculation that's run rampant based on this report. But I think what is kind of the bigger conversation and topic here that we can touch on is that we've talked for a while now about how gaming is growing. Obviously, the industry as a whole and the revenue streams there are massive, and year over year growth is substantial in the gaming space. And it's very clear that the big players from Amazon with Luna and their game studio companies, and Google trying with Stadia and what they're doing, they're recognizing this, right? There's money to be made. So it was kind of interesting to hear that EA, which is, I didn't look at this ahead of time, I want to say they're the third or fourth biggest publisher, third-party publisher.
You're counting Activision as sold?
Activision was number one when they, in terms of third-party, right? Today. Anyway,
it depends on what you're doing with like all the the Tencents and the Embracers. And are you including mobile? Yeah. There's all sorts of stuff.
Sure. So let's just say they're one of the biggest.
They're huge. Yes, they're very big.
So EA, one of the biggest.
Call themselves the biggest games publisher. Like for not that long ago, they used to call themselves the biggest games publisher.
Oh yeah, things change, right? So it is kind of interesting to hear that large of a publisher with some of the biggest IPs we all know and I guess love. We're talking with companies like Disney and Amazon and Apple, because we've heard for a long time now about Apple in particular wanting to kind of throw their hat in the ring here. So just open to thoughts here, guys. I found it interesting hearing that this fell through, and obviously EA's in other talks. Do you see EA continuing to go down this path, and do you think we'll see something with EA kind of being one of these next big publishers to be kind of sucked up into the larger picture?
Yep. I don't know if it's going to be a consolidation move though, because
commentary.
Yeah, that was going to be my commentary.
Yep, this is going to happen. I think they're kind of right for it, as are Ubisoft and lots of these guys. But I don't know if it's going to be a straight consolidation move. Like I wouldn't expect to see like Sony or Microsoft or one of the existing publishers to buy them. I think it'll be more like somebody trying to break into the group, like your Apples and your Amazons and your Googles, and like if NBC had acquired at Comcast, it would have been kind of a non-competitive acquisition. It's sort of them just they want to get nested underneath some larger corporation, but I don't think that their goal is. I don't know if this will be like a consolidation move. I think at least that would be my hope. If they get acquired by one of the other big publishers, I think that would be not good, especially if it's going to lead to. I mean, we've talked about it on the show a bunch, but consolidation's not typically good for the industry. But I think the only way it gets acquired by one of those guys is if they're, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo are all aligned in their interests to keep Apple and Amazon and Google out of the game market. And I think that's the only way it gets acquired by one of those guys, is like a denial of service sort of move. But I don't think you do that for $36 billion. So we'll see.
Okay, yeah. Beast said $36 billion in chat. Thank you, Beast. Number two after Activision, not counting Tencent. So $36 billion is not a small chunk of change.
We had to not count them. Yes.
So,
yeah. So I mean, I can talk a lot about this, or a little about this. I will say that 2020 proved to be a sea change in the revenue and outlook for every video game industry member. And to the extent that you've got stockholders or management or boards or whatever that are saying now is you sell high, that's the kind of thing that you would be thinking about coming out of 2020 into 2021. Then you add on the Activision Blizzard consolidation, you add on the Bethesda ZeniMax consolidation. And if you're at all interested in selling your company, you're on a lot of phone calls right now. Everybody is. I guarantee that. NBC Universal and Comcast in general is an interesting bidder, because they're known at least somewhat for being, I don't know how to describe this, being a little loose with their money. They're buyers right now on all sorts of stuff. They jacked up the price of Fox for Disney. We're getting it into the billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, because Comcast said, yeah, okay, cool. Let's go try to snake it out from under them. Mm-hmm. Them rejecting EA and EA not being sold with that kind of rumor going out there is actually pretty horrible for EA.
Yeah.
in terms of leaking out. So the very first one that jumps out into my mind was Disney included in that list. So there's a couple of interesting things there. Disney has been exiting tech as fast as they can for a while now, after the Infinity Project failed. They're getting out. They're licensing out their IPs to other people who sell them. Yep. Interestingly enough, one of the major IPs they licensed out on an exclusive basis was, of course, Star Wars to EA. They have a very close, they understand how EA makes video games.
Yes.
And if you're following along at home, they ditched that exclusivity provision, what appears to be about a year, 18 months ago. So like that was never going to happen. So there's a couple of things that suggest, one, Disney's like, no, we know how you, nope, thanks, but no thanks. And also EA even approaching them with that is a certain amount of desperation. So Disney, to me, that was never, ever going to happen for Electronic Arts. NBC then rejecting them seemingly at the last minute, but you don't know who's leaking this.
Right.
So you always have to take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sure how close they got to getting married. And it appears that someone wants it known that EA is shopping. And it's, yeah, you would expect that if they're going to find purchase with this kind of argument, selling to somebody, it would have to be someone like Amazon, someone like Apple. I would say the dark horse is, if I were really speculating, tinfoil hat, you're putting it on. Why does this get leaked? You leak it because you hear Netflix is dying and they have a lot of cash and they're looking to buy game companies. And you say, okay, let's see if we can swing that. And so I think EA is going to get sold, assuming that the deal isn't awful, because they're shopping to everybody on planet Earth. But NBC Universal actually rejecting them is more of a surprise than the fact that they were shopping to me, because they for sure. I don't want to put this too harsh. They buy anything. So I mean, like they're in the buying crap business and figuring it out later.
Have you seen the TV shows they've greenlit? That should tell you about their bar.
Well, I just, Comcast had the war chest ready to buy Fox. They've been sitting on that. They've been buying garbage since. It's like, yeah, buy that garbage. And whatever they saw in their due diligence process of EA said, no, it's too garbagey for us. Okay.
Pretty bad. That's pretty bad from an internet provider that brought you 5 megabytes per second. They're saying EA
all I'm saying,
not up to their quality standards.
I mean, to be clear to our viewers and listeners, I'm not sitting in the room on this. I can talk about things broadly. NBC Universal is known for buying stuff. EA's shopping finds itself in what sounds like serious talks with NBC Universal. If I had known about those talks from behind the scenes, I would have said at that point, it's 80-90% likely that they're going to sign a merger agreement. So the fact that they didn't, that is interesting.
It also comes at an interesting time. First of all, before I forget, I think you need to create official Hogue Law tinfoil hats. I mean, come on. That'd be just perfect. But also comes at an interesting time, going back to kind of the gaming aspect of this. If you think about EA, right, and what they've, to your point, you mentioned the Star Wars kind of faults there and Disney knowing they needed to back away from that exclusivity agreement, right? We've had the fallout with the FIFA license in the past couple of weeks, where EA has lost the FIFA license after 20 some years, right?
Lost is an interesting word there.
Well,
right? All the rumors we got. So FIFA's in free fall as an institution in terms of corruption and organization.
They're a terrible organization.
They're being investigated by like 17 countries and that kind of thing. And then apparently what we got as rumors is that they asked for the FIFA license, which is effectively a name and the World Cup. They asked for the license. They increased the license cost by 100% when they asked for EA to re-up on this, while FIFA's going through a corruption scandal and Qatar and everything else is just in shambles. And so EA said, we're pretty sure it's just a word and we'll run without it. Now that's a bet because the World Cup sells a lot. But yeah, they lost. It's not the same as the Disney loss. Just in terms of describing these things, EA did not want to give up the Disney exclusivity. They lost that. They did not lose the FIFA license in quite the same.
That's true. But I am very curious to see how that plays out, because FIFA is EA's number one moneymaker. Sure. It has been an absolute staple in the global gaming community for a very long time. Like my cousins, I have numbers of cousins in England and in Europe, I can say, who buy 2 games a year. One is FIFA religiously. So and they know it. It's called FIFA, period. It's not called EA's football game or football club or, and I'm very curious to see how that plays out. But let's also not forget that they've literally destroyed one of their strongest IPs in Battlefield. Battlefield's probably in the worst shape it's ever been as well.
You're right about that.
And it's just very interesting to watch where EA is right now. I mean, take away Respawn, who is gold. Everything they make, it turns to
The
gold.
best deal they've ever made.
They've ever signed, right? Take away Respawn, and what is EA producing right now? If someone can answer that question, I'm open to an answer, but I can't answer it.
They continue to make promises that BioWare is actually making video games.
They're making Star Wars Fallen or Jedi Survivor.
That's take away Respawn.
He said take away Respawn.
Oh, take away Respawn. Oh God, why would I do that? Why would you do that?
More needs for speeds. I hope you're still needing the speedings. You'll get more of those. And then it's FIFA Ultimate Team. It's
Madden Ultimate Team.
Ultimate Team.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Battlefield was supposed to be the return of this great IP. It was the exact opposite of that.
Why take away Respawn though? I feel
I'm just saying that if you think of their management of things, right? Respawn was the best purchase they ever made. They are obviously managed independently outside of EA, right? They have at least on the outside looking in, they have the freedom to do what they want to do because they're so good at doing what they do.
I don't think they mess with Vince.
No, leave Vince alone, right? And I think that was part of the agreement that was clear when that was signed.
Well, it would have had to have been. It's right in the shadow of when Vince flees from Activision. I mean, like that was what was so unusual about that deal. Yep. Is that like for what they had actually produced at that point in time, 400 million was probably too high, but they could see that Apex Legends existed in the background and all this stuff. And look, this is a young enough deal that I know I talked about it in the social media space, and I haven't been doing that long. Sure. So like they've only been associated with Respawn for a short period of their history, and they depend on it for everything outside their sports. And that's wild.
100%. Yeah, and Beast Munch's motive is making Dead Space remake, and we know that's coming.
Dead Space
remake.
Yeah, I mean they've got good studios. But BioWare's making Mass Effect.
Sure they are.
Mass Effect and Dragon Age. We'll see.
Sure they are.
Yeah, all I know is whoever ends up buying them, there's going to be a lot more fans of EA all of a sudden. That's
Dude,
all I know.
Yes, Travis. All right, Travis and I are going to pool our money just to get Jade Empire 2 made. We'll do it.
That's right.
We will
do
Jade
it. Empire.
I bet you could buy the we could just buy the IP and make the game ourselves. That would probably be cheaper. How much do you think the Jade Empire IP goes for if we bought it?
$19.
They wouldn't sell it to you just out of spite. They'd be like, "No, we could use it someday. We could use it someday."
Dan, sorry, Dan said when EA gets bought, they're gonna what? I missed what you said.
No, I just said all I know is that there's going to be a ton of new EA fans out there all of a sudden. That's the only thing I can say about this whole thing.
They're bought by one of the producers. Yeah. If they go to Comcast, nobody's going to start liking EA. That's not how.
Oh my God, dude! Can you imagine that? That would be like a union of the two most hated companies in the world. I think
it might be for some of those polls. Like it might have been 1 and 2 a couple.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure EA was number one year, and then the next year was Comcast. So they're bedfellows for sure.
Oh my God! Yeah. And yes, Darren, they did shut Visceral down. Yes, EA has shut a lot of good studios down. Yes.
Well,
and they turned DICE into DICE, and they turned BioWare into BioWare. I mean,
we'll see what comes of this. But I think more than anything, right? You're talking about it, as you pointed out, a $30+ billion valuation of a company anyway. That in terms of acquisition, and it's an interesting market right now, the gaming industry space, and if nothing else, it gives us interesting things to talk about. So.
EA's been an interesting one for me because every time I look at it, EA used to be a logo and things that I would see on a bunch of games that I played. And like for the longest time now, I've looked at what their annual output is, and they're doing fine, and they're making a bunch of money on live services. But I realize how little I see the EA logo. How little I play those particular games outside of, like, I think they did a great job with their I can't remember what they call their partners program last year. I really liked Lost in Random. I really liked It Takes Two. Like EA's doing some good stuff with like their venture capital arm, essentially, in terms of strategic investment and publishing. But their actual in-house stuff I don't play it.
Crazy. It's funny because I think of, to your point, I think of growing up with EA and the unique Sega Genesis cartridges, and you get into the early PlayStation era and PlayStation 2 era, and then just EA
was that the Creepy Whisper era?
When did they creepy whisper at you?
Or they challenge everything? Was that?
I don't. Yeah, I think that was in the early PlayStation.
I remember EA Sports. It's in the game, and I remember.
One
of my favorites was EA Sports Big. I
Yeah,
really like
big,
their
big
crazy
title.
arcade games.
Yeah, NBA Street. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Was that the whisper? Was it challenge everything? I remember it being slightly off-putting. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that thing you're whispering to
You
me.
don't
I
wanna
just remember that.
That sounds pretty accurate. Challenge everything rings a bell.
Electronic
for
Arts upend society.
sure.
It's just random political messages.
Yeah.
Don't
Dismantle
what they tell
capitalism.
you.
Yeah.
All right, this podcast got strange very quick.
EA as they live. It's all good.
They were great when they were creepy, I think is what we can all agree on. When they were
Fair
making Harry Potter Quidditch as the sports game.
That's true. Yeah. A couple.
that?
Let's get to some of these super chats. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Luke in the house with Xbox expansion pass.
Yeah, $2. This is my marketing budget. Thanks, buddy.
Now it's our market.
Everybody go watch Xbox Expansion Pass.
Done.
100%, 100% of the marketing budget went to us. That's a big spend. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do what we can, buddy. Just not
Fat Boy
much.
Horror back.
Yeah. EA lost FIFA name, but not the player image rights for 5 years. Other games with FIFA name will be amusing. That is true.
Very
EA
true.
has like 120 licenses for like the teams and the players and things like that. They will be okay.
Yep. Well, we see how well they managed NCAA.
Might be a good move.
If it is as described in the rumors, I would have 100% done what EA did. Screw you, FIFA.
I actually think it might be smart, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you, Fat Boy, again. Appreciate it, buddy. Rudy in the house.
And Ruby.
Ruby. I'm sorry. I said Rudy.
Yeah,
Rudy. Apologies.
I almost did too. $2, which I will never forgive EA for destroying Dead Space. A lot of us won't.
They also created it. It was theirs to destroy.
Travis and I had the same thought.
Really?
If you remember when Dead Space and Mirror's Edge get greenlit, it was EA trying to be more open to new ideas. It was
remember those days?
A period of time. Yeah.
To your point, that their best ideas recently have come from the originals program, right?
I really like Lost in Random. If you guys haven't tried it, it's a delightful little weird oddity.
I have it installed. I still haven't gotten to it, but thank you, Ruby. Good to see you. I think a new face here, so I appreciate you.
This is why
it is on Game Pass.
Be delayed. Delay everything.
So it is on Game Pass.
That's the new EA logo. EA delay everything.
Delay everything.
All right, let's talk about the games we saw this week, boys. So we got a few things to talk through.
Sure.
So new Saints Row. This is a game that was originally supposed to launch early this year, right around when Elden Ring launched. Is it Volition? Volition Games decided to delay it till later this year. And I think that anecdotally speaking, what I'm seeing on social media and the people I've talked to have been kind of indifferent to Saints Row. It's like, okay, Saints Row started at a time when it was trying to be this other Grand Theft Auto. It kind of turned into its own crazy, the crazy universe thing. And then it kind of faded away and now they're rebooting it. And I think when they announced this late last year, I think we saw the first announcement, maybe the Video Game Awards. I can't remember.
I believe it was the German one from last fall.
Gamescom.
Yes.
Gamescom. Okay. So when we first,
I apologize.
The German one.
It's like Jeff Keighley is in there, and there's like pictures of beer. It's the German one.
The German one. Yeah. I again, anecdotally, I think people are generally indifferent to it. It's like, okay, we'll see what this is, but I'm not generally interested. Then this week we get the gameplay kind of trailer for it. And again, I keep saying anecdotally, but from what I'm seeing on my timeline and the people I speak to, the interest in this game has shot upwards drastically. A lot of people are saying, I did not expect this game to look this fun, this good, this crazy. Well, maybe not crazy, but to be this enjoyable. And I see a lot of people saying that this is a day one buy now after seeing this gameplay. So I watched it. I like what I'm seeing. I don't know if it's day one buy, but I think it looks fun. It looks enjoyable. Where are you guys at on this?
This game is going to be the slump buster of the summertime for me. So that is basically where I'm at with it. There is such a dry spell right now of no good, like real big first party games. Maybe Plague Tale, I think will be in there. I will definitely get that. But yeah, I mean, that's a for sure thing.
Which
but
one?
This one,
what did you say?
Plague Tale Requiem should be coming out in June, I think.
You ever play Plague Tale, Hope?
You didn't play Plague Tale, Hogue?
Plague Tale.
Oh, Plague Tale. I keep hearing Play Tale. I'm like, is it a new Super Lucky Fox? What are we all yelling about?
Yeah.
Plague Tale.
No. There's not that.
Is Plague's Tale 2 coming out sometime soon?
Yeah, you played Plague's Tale 1, right, Hope?
I
That's
did.
like it's got you written all over it.
Yeah, I love I love directing rats just generally. So
for sure,
you make it a game. Yeah,
that's your job as a lawyer, just directing rats.
That's right.
Yeah, so
well earned and well timed.
By the way, in August.
No, I mean I think the new gameplay looks really good. It looks like to be a ton of like ways to customize pretty much everything in the game. Between cars, your base, yourself. I mean, there's just tons and tons of customization. So I mean, it's probably going to be right up my alley. And also, like I said, there's really nothing else, and I'm kind of starved right now for something, new at this point.
What's the launch time on this, Dan?
August 23rd.
August. Okay.
August, yeah. So it comes at a time where it's right in between everything. Yeah, I'll grab it. What the hell, I mean, it's something. We'll see what happens. But
well, I mean, for me, the Saints Row series is essentially going to missions and doing things of a very kind of standard variety in terms of overall meta structure for what they've always done. And yes, that changed into superhero jumping and collecting crystals and fighting through hell and like all these various things that Saints Row went through. But it's a very kind of staid approach to open world. And so what worked for me in Saints Row is the humor and the references and things like that. And often didn't work for me. It's touch and go throughout the Saints Row series. I'll be curious to see what this actually plays like on an actual session, what those characters are like, etc. Now I will tell you my own personal tilt. I love Volition. I've loved Volition for a long, long, long time. I will adamantly defend Volition games, including Agents of Mayhem, because I enjoy them. So, I mean, I have faith that they will put a product out in front of me that I will enjoy. But I would have rather gone with the original Saints Row people and gotten even weirder and multiversal or whatever else you go through after the Earth has been destroyed, et cetera, et cetera. So I would have done that. I would have preferred that rather than going back to grounded. And some of the stuff in the previews is like, we have a more grounded approach to humor and everything else. It's like, honestly, Saints Row 1, I didn't like that much.
Agreed.
So we'll see. I don't hate it. I didn't really hate the reveal. I just felt nothing towards it. But I do actually there are a few developers that I trust. So I'm getting it because I trust Volition to put a product that I enjoy in front of me.
Yeah.
I like the statement of I don't hate it, but I just feel nothing towards it.
That trailer? Well, I don't know how anybody could have felt anything, but that's just me.
I did. I want to talk about it because
we
talked about it on this show. And I think back then it was just Ains, Dan, and I. And I think you guys were pretty like, and you were looking at the feedback from the internet, which was, this is not my Saints Row. It was like, that's like what a lot of people were saying. That was like the sentiment. And to me, when you look at a trailer that doesn't have gameplay, all you can try to do is get like the general vibe or what you're going for in like tone. And I think that they got, to me, the tone was like, okay, they're reimagining Saints Row, but it's still going to be silly and over the top and crazy open world sandbox. And when I saw the gameplay, I was like, yep, this is exactly what I wanted from that CGI trailer. And so same with Hogue. Like I think the studio is super talented. I think that people are focusing too much on a change in like the main character and that sort of stuff, but it was still very clearly to me a Saints Row type game. And so just looking at the gameplay, I'm like very excited for this in a world where every game tries to depress you. I think it's so nice to have just these popcorn games that are just like fun and over the top and silly, like Just Causes of the world. And I mean, this is a perfect game to pair with Plague Tale. Like, when you need a break from the rat infested hellscape, you can turn on Saints Row and just fly around and bounce off of people's heads, apparently dressed as a cowboy. So yeah, I love Saints Row a lot. I love comedy games. I think Saints Row, the brand of humor is often quite good. So I'm excited for this, man. And I'm also kind of like personally just glad to see all the naysayers based on the original trailer to be like wrong. I'm just like, yeah. I knew this was going to be good. They got it. So anyway,
some of those previews, man, read like straight up marketing copy. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I read through some of them. I'm like, wow. That sounds like it's from you won't believe how zany this is. It's okay. All right. Engadget. Okay.
Engadget. Yeah, I think it looks. It definitely impressed me. It looks fun. To Dan's point, it comes out at I think late August release is a good kind of window for them to release, right? So yeah, excited for it. I hope it's fun in co-op. I will say that those types of games where you can just kind of go nuts. For me personally, I love seeing those work well in co-op because then it just becomes a you and your friends goofing off type of experience, and I'm always down for that. So.
Well, this gunplay improved. You know, Saints Row always had
true.
kind of mediocre gunplay. So if you make that cooler, that'll help the series. Period.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For sure. Oh, I'm excited about this one, boys, because I didn't bring my popcorn, but I was gonna set this one up.
Boy.
So Norman Reedus is doing an interview this week, and happened to let loose that he's working on Death Stranding 2, which was an interesting way for Death Stranding 2 to get kind of leaked.
He was not PR prepped.
No, he wasn't, because he said it
clearly.
It wasn't like a kind of alluding to. It was we're working on part 2 of that right now. So I found that hilarious, but I also find it hilarious because I know that Hogue loves that game.
I don't just love that game. That's in my top 10 of all time.
Now we're just getting a little crazy.
Nope.
Okay, calm down.
All
right.
But no, I will defend it.
So I know Rick loves this game, as just evidenced. I know that Dan really enjoyed this game. I know that Travis does not. And whenever we get a situation where we have love and hate on one episode, I love to.
I do not hate that game. Just to be clear, I just personally feel it is extremely boring, and I don't know how anybody could find joy in it. That's all. It's just a boring game. It's just a boring game. I'm sorry. It's just boring.
Is why. Please carry on.
Did you beat it, Travis? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I got through it. Yeah.
Not
the director's cut. I didn't go back to the director's cut, but yeah, I just I can't get on board with the traveling postman walking along.
Okay, so the genre does so the concept doesn't match for you, I guess, which is fine. That's totally normal.
Yeah, it's just boring. It's fun. It's a fun game. It's just boring. That's all.
He's preparing.
I don't know what to tell you. It's just a boring game. I'm like, wow, this is like doing nothing for me.
I prefer your statement that I don't see how anyone could find joy in this game.
I mean, it's like, so here's the thing. It does things that I feel like no one could get away with except for Kojima. Like the fact that it just advertises Monster energy drink in the game like all the time. Super weird. Super weird.
Yeah, that's very super weird. But again, so Alan Wake's one of my top games of all time, and you had Verizon ads and Energizer batteries. It's like
which were super weird also in that game.
Were.
But,
they took out the Monster Energy, by the way.
It's all gone in the director's cut.
But again, I did not play director, so like maybe they fixed the game.
They probably stopped paying for the license and had to remove it for the new release.
That's 100% what happened.
No, there's no way they were paying. Oh, you're saying Monster was paying them? That Monster had to pay them. There's no way.
Monster was definitely paying them.
Yeah,
for sure. And I have the same problem with Persona 5, where like I played Persona 5 and I did not click with me. It does so many things backwards, and then they came out with Royal, and everybody was like, Travis, all the things that you complain about are fixed. And I'm like, okay, but a year has passed, and I already played through 100 hours of that game, and I can't forgive it. So, like, the things with Death Stranding are like the super long, like weird loading screens. He's like getting in the shower, and like I'm waiting like 8 minutes before I get to play the game. And then when I play the game, I'm just like walking super slowly, and I'm like, dude, I'm just bored to tears with this game. So that's my take. It's not, it's not incredibly nuanced. It's just I played it and I was like, damn, I'm bored. And if you watch the IGN review, watch the IGN review of Death Stranding, because I agree with that reviewer's take on it. I'm like, dude, that's how I felt with this game. It's just didn't do anything for me.
Walt in the chat said once someone told him that he has Stockholm syndrome for liking Death Stranding.
I kind of, yeah. I just think it's a Kojima, like, if you like Kojima, you're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt on stuff that I would say is unacceptable in any other game. And I feel the same way about JRPGs. Like, if you like Persona 5, you're only liking it because you're just agreeing like, oh, well, there's certain things about the JRPG genre that are super bad game design, but I'm gonna forgive it because it's part of the like static save points, not being able to save the game anywhere. Does anyone think that that's good game design? No, but it's a JRPG, so it's just tradition. And I'm like, It doesn't make it good, man. It doesn't make it good.
Does everyone see why I was excited for this topic?
Yeah, I know. You just, I actually did you a favor.
The fact that you're using Persona 5 as your go-to bad game to back you up. Yeah, insanity.
The best part about this is, as I love about you so much, Travis, you always find a way to double down. And you started with Death Stranding, where you probably had a 50-50 audience agreement rate, right, on Death Stranding. And you then went to Persona. No, you then went to Persona 5
with me. You know what I mean?
RPGs, which just literally took it the whole other direction. And I
know. But here's the thing.
What I think, Travis.
Okay, go ahead. I've talked too much.
I think that games don't have to be solely about endorphin rushes and fun and excitement and whatever our ADHD-addled society requires of them at every moment of every time. I think there is a place for making artistic statements, which you don't have to agree with, and you can find failed, through things like struggle. And what you describe as boredom, or what I usually call, from a video game standpoint, every inch a mile. That it's difficult to advance and do your thing, that there's value in achieving that thing at the end of the process due to the struggle and maybe the boredom or whatever else that you had to go through. I don't find Death Stranding boring, but I do understand how people could. So I'm going to grant you that point. That is not an issue. What Death Stranding did for me was take a concept, refine it to its maximum level, which is traveling between points, make that what I found to be interesting throughout, and put on top of it interesting meditations on the nature of struggle, connection, and communication that culminated by, for me personally, this is subjective, right? We're talking about reviews. At the end, in one of the few times that I can remember actually having an emotional reaction to the conclusion of a game. So, you want to give me tilt. It really worked for me. And so when I reflect on that, I think the tweet I do is at 3 a.m, because I couldn't stop, because Travis, I'll grant you this point as well. I thought it was finishing 4 hours before, and we had like 3.5 hours of cutscenes.
That's every Kojima game
coming, right? So it was about a 3.5 hour movie to actually finish Death Stranding, and I didn't realize that. So I got very late, and but I tweet out, this is what gaming is about to me. That made me consider things, that made me feel things, and the function of that, the game of it, was all designed to make me feel that struggle, to make me feel like this was accomplishing something in order to put you in the shoes of somebody else. It is a pretentious goal, as Hideo Kojima is a pretentious creator. And if it doesn't match with you, I can totally understand bouncing off it. I will say, if it matches with you at all, the thought process that has gone into it, the game that was built around the mechanisms that they had made into it, are sublime. They all work to feed each other. They've all been thought through. And you say you wouldn't be able to get away with it. I say you're probably right. And I very much wish that wasn't the case. We need more auteurs exploring more things that are above and beyond how much fun and endorphins we can give you in any 30-second loop. That is all I will say on this. But I appreciate your position, Travis. And I think every time I've ever talked about Death Stranding, I've said, I personally think you're going to love this, or you're going to bounce hard off of it. And so
seems to be a love game 100%.
I think there's an experience in there for, if it works with you, that is unlike any other I've had in video gaming. And I hope if you get a chance to play Death Stranding, if dear listener, dear viewer, and it works for you, that you wind up loving it as much as I did. That's what I'll say. I love it to death.
So well argued, well reasoned. Reasonable minds can differ. It just didn't connect with me. So whatever that is, and sure. I guess I'm just too whiny. I can't.
You hyperbolize for a rhetorical effect, which I love about you, Travis, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. So the chat is split, and they've been going back. Some people saying it's awful. Some people saying they loved it. The usual. The funniest
that's that game. It's just divisive. For the record, I actually do think Kojima is capable of creating awesome stuff. I personally love Metal Gear Solid 5. Like I think that's fantastic.
I love a lot of it. I wish it was finished.
I like Metal Gear Solid 4, but anyway.
I love Metal Gear Solid 4. I'll have that conversation too. There's different flavors of Metal Gear Solid even within that brand.
Yeah. The best comment we've
talking
ever
about spy games, by the way.
Where is it? I just lost. There it is. Darren, I think Darren's from Scotland, if I recall correctly. Correct me if I'm on there, but he says it's not even a good delivery guy game. I'm the delivery guy, which is one of my favorite comments I've ever read on Death Stranding.
That's gold. No matter where you stand on Death Stranding, that is a fantastic take. Please come on the show and just talk about your delivery guy life and what's not accurate about it.
Dan, do you? I know, Dan, you reviewed it for us. I believe you gave it a 9. Do I recall correctly? You're on mute, dude.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was a 9.
Okay.
Here's the thing with I don't typically like Kojima games. I say that putting $300 into Metal Gear Solid 5. The reason I like that game so much, right, was because it offered, we talk about these open world games. We talk about, it offered player agency, which you don't get as much as you think. Even with like something like a game that I love, Red Dead Redemption 2, we're all four going to have the same exact experience in the end, right? How you got there is going to be the exact same way. And the more you talk to people, the more you play that game. It's like, oh, hey, I remember this guy. Yeah, I said, yeah, I saw him too. It's all there. With something like Metal Gear Solid 5, the story made no sense to me. I still don't understand what happened. And I struggle with the Kojima games in that regard, where in the end, I'm like, okay, crap. I don't know what the hell just happened. And with Death Stranding, it was the most coherent Kojima game that I've ever played, where I was like, okay, the story is actually pushing me to do these things. Yeah, sometimes the gameplay is a little boring, but also, they add enough stuff in a way that it just keeps you going to the next thing. It's like, okay, now you've got this ability. Now you've got this ability. The way other players interact with your world, I don't think works as well as it should now. I think it worked better back when I first played it. You're based on a lot of stuff is based on like likes, just like YouTube. It's based on, I made, for example, a slingshot system that basically lets you traverse. This whole first big area where you didn't have to really do much, and I don't understand how that. Either more people didn't use it or didn't enjoy the freedom to not have to walk all the way from point A to point B to point C. And I still struggle to understand how that is and how it works. But, it kept pushing me. And the story was interesting enough and coherent enough this time where I was like, okay, I'm good with this, and it's really, really, really interesting. It was a lot to take in. I mean, it was probably one of those games that I played that I was just like, man, like Hope says, really, it wasn't really emotional because I don't really get super emotional with games, but it was just like, it was just a lot to take in, and I don't know what the hell they're going to do. That being said, with number 2, yeah, I don't know.
That was going to be my question for you guys, because I have not played it. This is just one of those games that didn't.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but I
would love to know where you stand on the boring versus.
Well, we've talked before. I've gotten a lot better about, or tried to get a lot better about speaking games from experience, right? Because I think a part of the problem we have in the discourse around gaming a lot is that people either don't play something or play it for a minimal amount of time and then feel like they speak on it from a level of full knowledge or expertise. And so Dan and I had a long conversation on this when the game released. I looked at it. I'm not a big fan of Kojima, the way he designs games. I'm just not. That's me. The gameplay didn't interest me at all. And so I said, I'm not playing this game. I'm not going to speak badly about it, but it's just not for me. It's not a game that I care to experience.
Am I wrong in thinking, Ains, by the way, that Death Stranding is on their extra list, their PS extra list?
Sure is, yeah.
I think
if you don't want to make that bet, folks, and you're otherwise buying PlayStation Extra, you're going to have a shot.
At least give it a try. That's all I can say, because you're either going to love it or just be bored by it. But.
It's literally one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, I gave you the tweet to share when I finished it at 2 in the morning, Ains.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally one of my favorites.
It was my game of the year that year, I believe.
It was my game of the year as well.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
What year was that?
2019?
Yeah, it's 19, I think.
When Sekiro won at the Game Awards, I believe.
Yeah. Was that?
Yeah.
Was that also the year Half-Life Alyx came out? Am I gonna? do I have to get on this again?
No. You don't have to get on that horse right now.
No.
Thank you, though.
I don't think so.
I think it might have been 2020.
20?
I've always said my thing on Kojima. I've always felt that he would make an incredible horror game.
2020.
And the fact that he didn't get to make Silent Hills with Guillermo del Toro still saddens me, because I felt that would have been something incredible. So
that is an interesting kind of like what if scenario, right? Because I love Death Stranding so much that they'd make Silent Hills instead of it, right? It was going to star Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
It would have. So, you
wouldn't have gotten your favorite game. Yeah.
One of my favorite games is like, but I loved PT. How could anybody not love PT?
So good.
So it's like, oh my God, I want to go see what that alternate universe looks like, because I love Death Stranding.
That's a crazy alternate universe. It would have changed so much about many companies. It would have changed a lot about,
It would have, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame. By the way, I still have PT sitting on my PS4 right there. Great.
Me too. I don't uninstall it out of fear.
No, never.
Did they take it down from the store or something? Yeah.
Oh yeah. A couple other just quick game quips, and then we're going to talk about the Halo series finale. We got to do it.
Oh boy.
A couple of things, updates. So Fall Guys going free to play, releasing June 21st on all platforms. So if you've never really gotten into Fall Guys, Xbox, Switch, PC, PlayStation, all together, cross-play, cross-progression, everything coming June 21st. And then
should have always been with that game, in my opinion.
Correct. Should have been.
Yeah.
And then CD Projekt Red confirmed that the upgrade to Witcher 3 for the PS5 Series XS is coming fourth quarter. It's going to include everything, the complete edition, the game, both expansions, all the DLC, and they're adding DLC for the Netflix series as well. So just, at least we have a time frame now.
Yes. Yes. That's my comment on this one.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, Starfield got delayed. Oh, well. I've got next gen Witcher 3 to play again. Yeah. Let's go.
It's crazy to see the models between like The Last of Us being remade for the 4th time and like Skyrim being sold for the 19th platform, and then Witcher just still doing its free updates. It's kind of crazy.
And still selling. I mean, Witcher 3 continues to sell extremely well. It's crazy.
It deserves it.
By the way, have you seen, I don't know if you saw, but not to go back to Elden Ring, but I was joking about Elden Ring sales. Like, it's in the top 5 on Steam every single week. In fact, it's usually 1 or 2 or 3, top 3 every single week. And I realized that that's been 3 months now. It's just wild to see that the tail that game is going to have is going to be phenomenal. Yeah. All right, boys, we got the Halo series finale. I know Hogue was all in on this one. He sat down with the family, got dinner, and watched the whole series.
If I sat down with the family for this version of Halo,
that would be absurd, Hogue, especially if you know what's in that show. Oh my God.
So let me give my thoughts. I want
to visit that alternate reality, Hogue, where you sit down to dinner with the family.
I'd have to be completely unaware, and then I'd be like, "Oh my, okay, yeah."
So, have you guys watched the finale?
Oh yeah, it's a dumpster fire.
I have not. I read a summary.
Okay, great.
So, well, hold on, Travis. Hold on.
Wait. So, Hogue, I hope that the alternate reality where you sit down to watch this show with dinner with your family is the same reality where PT were released. Like you playing Silent Hills like broke something in you, and now you just.
You're like putting anything and everything in front of the family.
Yeah, okay. You have an eye patch. Yeah. You just everything's different. Yeah.
I got the mirror universe.
Why did you use an eye?
I don't know. We don't know. We don't get that backstory. We gotta wait till season 2 or 3.
I'm letting you write the next Multiverse of Madness, Travis.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do it.
So I gave my spiel on the Halo series last week, leading up to the finale, and I said last week, and I stand by that, of all the scripts that they reviewed for Halo, and everything they could have done with the series. And I'm going to reiterate, because people use this as a defense of the series, that people just want it to be like the games. I'm going to reiterate, that's not what anyone is asking for. Well, maybe some people are asking for, but that's not what I'm saying. I don't, again, I'll reiterate, I don't know how you land on the script for this series. I just don't. Now, the finale, I will say, and again, anecdotally, I've seen more positivity on the finale than I had some prior episodes, I would say. And I'm a little more positive on the finale there. I will say this. I don't even know how to put my thoughts together on this.
Do we have a spoiler lift? Like, Spoiler warning for everybody.
Yeah, I'll give the warning.
Yeah, you may want to. Let's do that. Yeah, you may want to back out at this point if you don't want to hear some key things about the finale, because there are some key character things that happen. To your point,
yes, one pretty big one.
Yeah, one big one.
Some key character things. It says,
yeah, that's an interesting way of putting.
Biggest understatement of the episode.
I know. So, in my opinion, there's a lot in this finale that is more Halo than the rest of the show had been to this point. You get to see some combat you hadn't seen before. You get to see the Spartans in action. You get to see some elements of the Spartans that I wish they had shown way more throughout the series. You get to see Chief being a little more Chief. You get to see things of that nature. You get to see, supposedly, I'm assuming that was supposed to be Sang Helios, where they went and visited, where the battle happened basically with the brutes, and Atriox jumps in and you get the prophets. So, but the problem for me is that you still have a ton of disjointed story elements here, to say the least. You have McKee, who's now dead, presumably, who you've killed off. You ended the season with literally nothing to do, zero to do with Quan Ha, Soren, Madrigal, which then poses the question of why did you have 3 episodes or 4 episodes based around that to begin with? Because it apparently doesn't tie to anything that you're doing with the rest of the story. You get the Halsey thing going on with Halsey, now escaping and, her giving up a clone of herself, presumably. And you have Cortana completely taking over Chief fully, which is
we did, didn't we?
Another kind of interesting is a word I'll use lightly, thing that has happened. And I don't know, it feels like, again, this is an episode where you started to touch on being the key words here, that make Halo fun for a lot of us and fascinating for a lot of us, but you still have these compounded issues of writing and continuity and just a number of other things. And that's before getting to some of the combat scenes themselves look pretty cheesy. Some of the CGI is really poor. Some of it's good, some of it's poor. You still have that weird dichotomy between the two. And I realize I've been ranting for a bit now, so I'll stop. But it was better than some of the bad episodes, in my opinion, the finale was. But it still left me kind of unsure of where they're trying to take this. Let's remember, before you guys comment, that season 2 is already coming and that season 2 has new writers entirely. The writers from season 1 are gone. So now you look at this kind of disjointed mess they've left with the first season and you say, we've got new showrunners, season 2's confirmed, and we have all these weird story elements that are pieced together. Where do you go with season 2?
Oh, I have him wake up from cryo on the Pillar of Autumn saying, my God, that was weird. I just have him run out and as they crash through the Halo. No question in my mind.
Oh, so I have obviously the dream sequence is not the way to go. It would be great, but you can't really do that if it's the same show. Can we just talk about the big thing, which is that Master Chief dies in the episode? John is dead in the episode, and now he's a zombie he's a corpse inside of a suit of armor being controlled by an AI. And so, to me, I literally thought
well, hold on. I think there's some clarity there. Yes, all that happened. You're right.
Yeah,
but
he's
I think
dead.
No. But he's not dead now.
Oh,
no, he
let's
is.
talk about the soul, shall we?
No. They talk about how he can be revived, and that I think what they were alluding to is that to do that, Cortana had to take the step of fully taking over to now bring him back to life. He's not.
He's dead right now in the show.
No, he's not.
No,
Yes,
I think he's brought back to life as Cortana controlled, unless I misunderstood.
No,
but
Cortana controlled him to bring him back to life. No.
Threatened that John was gone, but that
he is dead.
No,
he's dead right now. I think season 2 is going to be about Cortana trying to bring him back. The last time you see Master Chief, his partner's looking at him like, dude, you are not the same person. And he goes, John, are you still there? And she looks silently over at him like, no, dude, John's not in here. He's dead. And I literally thought that they were going to use that as like a way to retcon his character. Like, oh yeah, John used to be a person, but now he's the silent Master Chief character, because there's nothing in there. Yeah, and I was wondering, are they going to find the Pillar of or they're going to find the first Halo ring? And literally that's just their canon, is that like Master Chief is a corpse inside of a suit being controlled by an AI, and his relationship with John and Cortana is all just in his head because he's a corpse. Like, is that would honestly maybe be the best path forward in my mind, is like, it explains everything. Like, he used to be this super unlikable person who would, bang prisoners of war and like all it just, showed his butt cheeks all the time, but then he died and then he became the Master Chief.
I was introduced to Master Cheeks this week, by the way, and I have to give the internet props.
Master Cheeks says only a woman can save cheeks, but maybe I'm probably.
I mean, to your point, Ains, he's not dead, but he's currently not alive.
Sure,
Cortana's controlling a corpse.
Correct, but I thought what they were alluding to is that only she could save him. Right, I think that's what they're alluding to. I don't think we go into season 2 without John being John.
Oh, I think we do. I think season 2, episode 1, John is not John right now. I think they're gonna find a way to bring him back. But I would be willing to bet first episode of season 2, John is not like in control of that suit of armor.
I'm checking out. I gotta go.
Really? Wow, that was like so.
So between the 2 seasons, you think they're just going to resolve the whole issue of her taking over?
Maybe I misread the situation, but my assumption, maybe incorrectly from what you're telling me, is that all of that was just set up to show that Cortana had to save Chief at that vital moment, but that we were ending with the kind of understanding that she had brought him back.
Does it bother you that none of this is Halo? I mean, like,
yeah.
So it doesn't bother me that much, but I will say, like, something that does annoy me is the thought that, like, Master Chief is backed into a corner and the Covenant are fighting him, and he's like, I'm not good enough to beat all these Covenant. You know who is? Cortana. Let me kill myself. I'm going to just put myself out there, have the Covenant kill me, and then Cortana's going to take over, and she's going to be the super badass, because it sort of invalidates, like, John is supposed to be like the best of the best, and he's like, no, you know who's the best? You know who's the best is computer software. They could have made that a little bit better. And it's just like, oh my God, dude. Like, I just have so many problems with the show and the script, but I will say this.
To your point, Chief is the best with Cortana's assistance, right? That the core of Halo is that Chief was always the best Spartan, and he was humanity's savior, and Cortana's kind of addition to him is what puts him over the top.
But that addition was them being like friends. In this one, it's like, no.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's what I'm saying. It's like, if you're alluding to the fact that they're now saying that the best piece of this is Cortana just having full control. That's problematic.
That's how he goes Super Saiyan, is he goes, all right, I'm going to go into a full coma, and then you just take over and get in the driver's seat. And that is crazy to me, and just seems like, I will say this, though. I am going to watch the show because it is a disaster that I have to see. It's just such a nightmare. And I'll be kind of upset if it gets a little bit better, because a little bit better would be mediocre, and that's kind of depressing. But if it's just like dumpster television, I'm in, man. Like, I have to see where this goes. And yeah, dude, that season finale just blew my mind. And I just love the idea that he's just a corpse. They straight up killed the Master Chief. And season 2, episode 1, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be dead. I would love if they committed to it and never brought him back. I would love that. That would probably be my favorite Halo decision ever.
You need to be careful. You're walking on sacred ground.
I want it. Because I explain why he never takes off his helmet, why he seems robotic again. He's just a corpse.
If I had asked you before the season started and I said, hey, look, do you think there'll be a Halo ring actually in this, not just referenced? Would you believe that you'd get to the end of this without a Halo ring?
I would not.
It's almost impossible.
That. Yeah.
We've said it a million times on this show.
There was also no fall of Reach, which they alluded to like 15 times in the early episodes.
They're slow playing the fall of Reach.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
let's keep in mind, not what 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, you guys were calling me the defender of this series. So this is how far we've come.
I have never been happier to have opted out of a series than when I just went and read the summary so that I could have this conversation. Okay,
you're really missing out all of the nuance of how bad it is.
I probably how bad it is. I'm willing to say if chat wants to, well, you didn't actually watch it, you just watched somebody. Totally accurate, and also I feel totally valid about that choice. Okay, I'm okay with it.
So Zink is trying to be on the defense here, but he says they did show the Halo ring.
I know.
No, they showed it in a dream.
I know they showed the vision of the Halo ring.
Yeah.
And Phil M says, "Oh, I'm gonna ride this train wreck until the track stop."
Yeah, no. Imagine making a season where it's all about finding the Halo rings, and they don't succeed at that goal. At the end, they get a map. It's like Assassin's Creed 1. Like, oh, now we know where all the stuff is. Join us.
Did you guys think it looked good? I mean, the CGI was like, it was CW level.
I can't speak on that. I have heard complaints.
Yeah, and then like the area that when they came in and they had the big fight and everything, I was like, this looks like a promo for a new Halo Infinite map, but the CGI was worse. I've seen better stuff in video games. I was just sitting here watching this. I was like, hey, that's like
he's saying Helios. Sorry to interrupt you, Dan. It was supposed to be saying Helios, I think, based on what
that is.
It's the it's kind of like the Arbiter's home planet. It's where the Covenant. It's one of the planets they come from, but you visit there in Halo 5 in the campaign, which was the first time in a game that you get to go there. That's what it looked like. But to your point, as I kind of referenced, like there's some CGI in this show that I think is done pretty well. But to your point, it looked like it was just this area sitting in the middle of nowhere that was very undetailed. Yeah. And it was just like,
the swarm of like elites just comes out of nowhere, like I'm just like, what in the hell is happening here? I don't understand what's going on. And it was, I don't know.
So you say it wasn't saying Helios, then what was it? Tell me.
I don't know what the hell. I mean,
it wasn't. I'm curious. I want to hear what it was. If he's so definitive.
Their holy planet, bro.
Yeah, no, they're
well, it wasn't High Charity, which is where they referenced in episode 1 and never went back to. So I don't know what else I'm supposed to take from that, unless you just say it's generic Covenant planet.
There's a couple scenes in High Charity in the first couple of episodes because it's before the lady leaves. McKee,
yeah. So, but anyway, I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, Dan. I know I kind of cut you off talking about the CGI, but sorry.
No, that's basically what I took. I mean, you're right, Trey. I can't stop watching it because it's been so terrible, and I want it to be really, really, really good. But we've talked about it before. You've got such an expansive, background to pull from, but you've pulled nothing except for like the Master Chief and his armor and a couple other guys, and that's basically it. I'm just glad there was no
Think about it from the writer's perspective, right? Every single new element they added is bullshit, and they killed him off before the season was even over because it was so bullshit.
Yeah.
I will say the only arc that actually ended up paying off was Cortana's. I thought the twist at the end where she has a seizure. I was like, okay, that's pretty Cortana-ish. Like I like that, but it just I don't care about that character. Her motivations seem muddy and murky at best, and just everything about that whole political organization, the UNSC, is just they did it so poorly. They could have made Cortana a more interesting character because she's gone full, Frankenstein. She's just a mad scientist at this point, and it's kind of crazy.
Well, and I'm interested to see the chat, like with some people so defensive about it and enjoying it. Hey, if you enjoyed it, more power to you.
All the time. If you love the show, great. That's all.
If there are that adamant defender group, you do wonder if it's essentially like a Death Stranding of TV shows type situation. But I watched it. I gave it a try. I can't help but think it's complete garbage. And worse, it has nothing to do with Halo. And worse than that, it presents Halo as something that it's not to the world that isn't familiar with it as a story. So that's what bugs the crap out of me. But that's bugged me for video game adaptations for forever. Why do I like Final Fantasy? It isn't whatever's in the Final Fantasy Spirits Within movie. Why do I like these various things? Why do I like Resident Evil? It isn't whatever the hell that was. So I mean, it's
a little bit of that though. Some of the games.
The Resident Evil movie.
Yeah, some of the games are get close to the movies a little bit, unfortunately.
Speaking of which, we get one of the things I saw this week, not to change subject, but Netflix they're doing a Netflix like Geeked or whatever showcase in the summer period, and they said they're showing
Jeff signed that one. Yeah,
they're saying that they're showing the new Resident Evil series and the Cyberpunk series, so we'll see what those look like. OBM in the chat, what's up, dude? He said sort of sang Helios level recreated. That's what I got from it. It looked really cheap and unfinished. He said sang Helios meet Craig. And Tao says exactly how I feel it. I've never seen a series that has such kind of stark both sides, super love and super dislike. I don't think I can use my time on it.
I don't know if those loves are genuine though. I like some people
I don't think that's fair. I think some of them are genuine. I think there are people that really love the superficial things that make up a brand, right? Like the armor looks pretty cool. Master Chief occasionally looks like Master Chief. Cortana has Cortana's voice. And then you're done. But I mean, those things are existent, at least. But no, there's so much better sci-fi to watch. I can't even fathom it.
Probably on Paramount Plus.
If you have Paramount Plus, Strange New Worlds, which just launched, is by far their best attempt at modern Star Trek, by far. So if you're interested in that, go watch that, because Paramount Plus clearly put the money over there. And Strange New Worlds looks fantastic.
It is gonna be interesting to see if their budget is increased for season 2. I'm really curious to see what they do with series 2 now.
That's not generally the way the direction of budgets go.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. There'll
be a lot of talking
with the
rooms
worst
next
budget.
Week. Yeah, there'll be a lot of white rooms with conversations next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Got a super chat from Tao in the house.
Yeah, man, Tao, thank you again. Now imagine this is the team version of Halo series. It's on Paramount Plus, not Showtime. Imagine what they would have done for cable. Cheek out 24/7.
Just his new look.
The other kind of thread they left, which drove me kind of crazy, and thank you, Tao, appreciate it, brother. The other thread they left open, and this I think people were looking at as minor in the grand scope of things, which I guess it is, but throughout this series, you have now 2 of the Spartans. So you have Chief and Kai, who've taken out basically their programming chip, if you will, from being a Spartan, which is part of being a Spartan, which reduces your kind of feelings and levels out your kind of emotional levels, right? To allow you to focus on the mission. 2 of them have removed this, 2 of them have not, and they just left it there. Like, my assumption was that this was going to happen. There was going to be a revelation of some sort where it's like, crap, I can't function properly as a Spartan without this, and they're gonna basically redo it. No, they're just leaving it.
Because the ones without chips are clearly not.
Emotions, the other 2 don't. Like,
yeah, the two without the emotions are clearly better Spartans.
Right.
They're way more efficient. Like,
and one of them's not Chief.
Yeah, exactly. One, like the one who I forget the lady's character name, the one who took out her chip. She like immediately went full like teenage emo Kai and like dyed her hair, and I was just like, oh, this isn't good at all. She's like way less efficient, not focused on the task at hand. Almost got herself killed in the 6th episode or whatever. So yeah, dude, that shows. Whew, brutal.
You notice that the most passionate thing I get worked up about every week now is when we talk about the damn Halo series. Like, I'm like breathing heavy over here. I'm sweating.
Well, it's over now, Ains. You got through it.
I'm enjoying the hell out of Infinite. I'll say that. I've played that for dozens of hours over the past couple of weeks. So, man.
Oof. Cleanse your psyche and spirit and just play the actual game.
Yes. Well, I saw there's a good video that's being shared on YouTube for real. It's behind the scenes of making Halo Infinite the campaign with the mocap sessions they did with Ben Taylor and the pilot and some of the stuff. Very, very good. And I was in this 3-minute spiel of the campaign scenes, right? The writing in those is better than the entire series. Like the whole thing. Like, just
for sure.
Yeah.
My favorite comment on any of the Halo episodes recently was right after that episode where he gets in a fight with the Spartans and they like beat the crap out of him and he's like bleeding from his face and stuff. Somebody put a screenshot of like the Master Chief, his face all bloodied, and the comment was, "If only there was some sort of device you could put over your head that would protect your face." And it's so funny that he just never he goes from the first episode being like, "I never take off my helmet," to just never wearing it. Even when he's in combat, he doesn't wear his helmet. It's just like, what happened? What happened to the show? It's crazy. Because I was one of those guys who thought like, oh, it sucks that the Mandalorian wears his helmet too much because you don't get that. He's a really good actor. You should see his face more. And they went the opposite way with the show. They did like too much of the, not wearing it. So
we said it right on. Like when I think when we were talking episode 1 and 2 originally, we said like he's out of his helmet too much, and that's okay if you kind of want to build the character early, but like you need to get back to what Chief is. And I kept waiting for
him not wearing his helmet a lot when he's hanging out, but when he's in a fight and he's not wearing his helmet, I'm like, dude, you've gone too far. Now he's like an idiot. He's like not using his own tactical advantages. It kills me, man.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
That's why they put Cortana in his head, by the way, so he doesn't have to wear his helmet. I swear to God, that's why they did it.
You're right. You're absolutely right, because that's different too. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave that alone for now. It's been that's the finale. We'll see what happens as soon as we get Halo 2 Season 2 news. We'll start talking about it, but we don't know how soon that'll be. I don't think, someone could correct me in chat or you guys, but I don't think they've commented yet as to when a timeline for Season 2. I don't know when that, is going to be kind of aimed for. So I guess we'll see. But guys, fun conversation today between the finale, the Death Stranding, the PS Plus stuff. It's been kind of I've been laughing quite a bit today. So as always, appreciate the conversation. Chat, you've been great. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Let's go ahead and wrap some things up. A couple things to call out. I released an article or published an article this week called Gaming for Good, which was a follow-up, a tough article to write, but I think a meaningful one. And it was shared all over the place. The feedback I got on it, the impressions, the commentary I got on it was really, really touching. So I just wanted to say a big thank you. If you read that article, you checked it out, you shared it. I appreciated it. It means a lot to me, and kind of the things that we need to talk about within the gaming space more often, as I always preach. So that's out there. I appreciate you checking that out. A couple other things up. There's a preview of a game called Superfuse from Steve from a PAX preview he did. You can check that out. We have a couple
game too, a couple months ago.
Sweet. Yeah, he said he really liked it. It's
quite good.
Yeah. We've got a couple new contributors joining Season Gaming. One is actually, it's kind of strange. He's doing joining Season Gaming as an internship for college, which is interesting. So we've got some things coming from them you'll see soon. And of course, we've got a bunch of Patreon content going up this week. So if you haven't checked out the Season Gaming Patreon, please do. A lot of unique content up there and exclusive content. We got a roundtable. We've got a new For the Record, and we've got a new kind of deep dive video, which I'm putting together as well, all coming this week. So appreciate you guys checking everything out. Rick, I'll start with you, the busiest man in the busiest YouTube pundit I know. I had to throw it in there. I had
yeah, no, I wasn't in the intro, was it? So no.
It's like a year ago to me in my brain.
It's pretty
in Hogue time, that was a different generation of Hogue life.
Yes.
That was like 50,000 followers ago.
I think I added that. I think I had 67 hours of streaming between this episode and the last one.
Wow. And you got a busy week ahead, I'm sure. So
yeah, it's a big week. It's a big week. So yeah, I'm part of LawTube. I talk about right now the Depp versus Heard trial seemingly at all times of day. You can follow me on Legal Bites Media, where we cover it during the trial day for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, where the jury will get handed the case on Friday afternoon. And when will they return? We don't know. Otherwise, I'm doing a lot more streaming on my channel. I've developed a show called Hangouts and Headlines, where we've been mostly going over journalistic headlines, talking about rhetoric, how those talk about messages and what's in them, using Heard and Depp as a jumping off point. But that stream is going to be a frequent occurrence now on the channel, and we'll be talking about other things, including gaming headlines. And hopefully I'll be able to invite over some of these guys and some other folks to talk through those on occasion over there as well. You can find those both at youtube.com/HoagLaw. You can follow me on Twitter @HoagLaw, same spelling. And that's basically it. I'm also running a law firm, but that's not really very public. So that just takes the rest of what are increasingly long days. But I appreciate it. Come follow. yeah, we're having a good time.
Awesome.
If you find yourself in legal trouble, please hit up Hogue. I guess it's corporate law, right? So
I was going to say, if you find yourself in legal trouble, you can contact me, and then I will say I don't do that, and I will try to find something to tell you that can handle.
Unless it's a very specific legal trouble where you're trying to.
If you're following your dreams and starting a company, or you need contracts reviewed or looked at, that's what I'm all about. If you find yourself calling me from a jail cell, I'm sorry if it was your only call.
I'm always calling you from a jail cell. But...
that's offline. That's offline.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, we get our spam bot right at the end of the show. Love to see it. All right. Travis, hit us up.
Yeah. So I've been creating a ton of content the past couple of weeks, which you can find on IGN.com, previews, reviews. I did a guide for the Destiny 2 raid, stuff like that. So please check out my stuff there. You can follow me on Twitter, watch the Destiny show, but really, I mean, my videos, my content, it gets a lot of views. You should support the other people on this channel who are making more important stuff than me. Ains, your article this week on Good for Gaming, I think is important. People should read that. Follow the lawyer guy too. He's got some of the most in-depth conversations you've ever heard.
No.
No, Hogue? Didn't like that? No.
Honestly, I got to tell you, my brain, white noises, all references that sound like Depp.
I see.
Depp heard hoax. A number of other words are in what amounts to a Twitter whitelist filter thing.
Nice.
But no,
good.
I enjoyed it, Travis.
Anyway, you should check out their content is my point. But follow me on Twitter if you care.
All right, guys. As always, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with us, and audio listeners, we appreciate you, of course. Thank you so much. For now, you know that the Bitcast is your weekly show featuring all things Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, and PC with industry, technical, and legal insight. And we will see you next week. Peace.